Stay connected through The Link each morning on Breeze 93.9 FM.
Sempre mandanya i família. Sanjuelo.
Stay connected through The Link. Each morning on Breeze 93.9 FM.
I've been told by living like a star, hotel rich champagne and caviar, but no one ever showed me the river, and that really hurts, baby, it really hurts. You try to sell your body and your soul. It's the price you pay for rock and roll, but no one understands it, how you feel. Oh, it's so real. Oh, it's so real. Baby, don't you cry for me. It's an illusion, just an illusion. Thought I knew what life should be. It's an illusion, just an illusion. Baby, don't you cry for me. It's an illusion, just an illusion. Thought I knew what life should be. It's an illusion, just an illusion. When critics crucify your leadership, another drink and then you lose control. But then on stage I feel a fire burn. There is no return, I'm always on the run. I give it to you, babe, with all my heart, for it's not too late. Oh, it's not too late. Baby, don't you cry for me. It's an illusion, just an illusion. Thought I knew what life should be. It's an illusion, just an illusion. Baby, don't you cry for me. It's an illusion, just an illusion. Thought I knew what life should be. It's an illusion, just an illusion. Burasora baito moru ike kose FNEA ike wo kose doge nieve nieve wo when nieve Burasora baito moru ike kose FNEA ike wo kose doge nieve, nieve, whoa, yeah, when the nieve.
Oh, signa uli di sombranza temak et zu ita saluda antes di niga radzaudzan malakes frezas durante todo memu a nogi distancia como kupugi palu Zangiman malak guafi ikonum nasugi airi preba benvenuti nei banderata gaigi, pues attenfani bandera co esta pagua pumalapa giluk tanu man libri sentamiti man ko badi.
dedicate to everyone and anyone out there. You know, the spirit of the islands gets you feeling irie inside. You know what I mean?
Don't tell me what you mean,
So
man.
sit back, relax, and feel alright. Check it out. Shoot, cruising down to Mon, checking out all the clubs. See the pretty ladies on the street, yeah. So pretty you fall in love. Island girls, everywhere you go. Gotta give shouts out to our local girls. A little island out in the sea. Short drives everywhere, that's fine with me. Local boys, we cruising it, we checking out the scene. Gotta find the women, where can they be? 'Cause I said, love for an island is what we do. Is what we do. Lovely women, beautiful beaches, just to name a few. To name a few. Fiestas and barbecues, that's what we like. That's what we like. Love for an island, it makes you feel alright. 'Cause I said, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright. Cruising down the island now, we checking out the green. Makes you feel at home, baby. Do you know what I mean? It may be hot, it may be small, but remember, all tomorrows will stand tall. 'Cause I said, love for an island is what we do. Is what we do. Lovely women, beautiful beaches, just to name a few. To name a few. Fiestas and barbecues, that's what we like. That's what we like. Love for an island, it makes you feel alright. 'Cause I said, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright. Love for an island is what we do. Is what we do. Lovely women, beautiful beaches, just to name a few. To name a few. Fiestas and barbecues, that's what we like. That's what we like. Love for an island, it makes you feel alright. 'Cause I said, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the sons are strictly for the islands. Give me shouts out to everybody. And the sons are providing you the skanky pizza. Get up, get groovy, stay rocking the island. My island sons are get up and skank now. Put your hands together, then we clap to the beat now. My island sons are strictly for the islands. Giving shouts out to everybody. Say, love for an island is what we do. Is what we do. The lovely women, beautiful beaches, just to name a few. To name a few. Fiestas and barbecues, that's what we like. That's what we like. Love for an island, it makes you feel alright. 'Cause I say, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright. Makes you feel alright. Makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright.
All
feel
right.
alright. Alright. Makes you feel alright.
Good
Alright. Makes you feel alright.
morning, Guam. Right on. Good morning. Bananas you do 626 Thursday, April 7th. Easter's coming. Here comes Peter Cottontail. Good morning, 626 Thursday, April 7th, 2022. Guahusi Chris. Good morning on you guys. Good morning. How you guys doing this morning? You doing good, or are you doing good? Or are you doing good? Right? Good news right out of the bat here as the announcement came out of the office of the governor yesterday. I'm going to read this out to you guys. If you're feeling a little less risky this morning, it is because we are a little less risky. As the hold on, let me get this up here, sir. I'm actually going to send you this thing real quick. Good morning, guys. Our show is brought to you proudly by Calvo Enterprises, ITD, and Jack in the Box on this Thursday morning. Yes, it is Thursday. Had some trouble remembering what day it was this morning, but it's Thursday morning. News out of the office of the governor. I think I need glasses. Guam, for immediate release, Guam certified low risk in CDC community level. Now, remember, the CDC was going to designate us a low risk area, and then the governor had said that it had to be certified by public health. Yeah, and so I guess public health certified. Let me read you the release. Good morning. How's your coffee, guys? You doing good? You know, I was thinking I really want to do some like biscucho and coffee or something in the morning, but I'm still on that fasting thing. So I cannot eat until 1 o'clock, but here's cheers, guys. How's your coffee? Mine is very black, but it's also very fancy. It's from a Keurig. Yes, elevated. Growing up, the child of a single mom in a food stamp household, I never thought in my wildest dreams I would be sipping coffee brewed out of a Keurig. Thank you, Tomas McLaughlin of the KUAM news team. Yeah, where were we? Oh, we're CDC. We're low risk. Let me continue reading this to you guys because this we get a sticker. We get an award, a reward for this low risk because we've been good. Like Guam achieve a low level of risk pursuant to the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, community level metrics and achievement certified by the Department of Public Health and Social Services and accepted by Governor Lulian Guerrero. I guess there's a whole process. I thought if the CDC just says it, they just say it, but apparently there's a whole process where public health has to certify whatever the federal government or CDC said. Pursuant to Executive Order 2022-09, this achievement starts the 14-day timeline on gradually easing community restrictions. Yeah, there's my thing. You can see right there. Thank you, sir. Oh, it's on that side. Where is it? I don't know. It's here. That's the press release out of the office of the governor. Yeah, it's a little this BTS behind the scenes. That's what's called an over-the-shoulder shot. And it's a big deal to do on Facebook Live. So, Joe, sir, thank you for the hack, my friend. Right on. Is it still there? Okay, it's right here. Okay, God, sorry. Where was I? Yeah, we're a low-risk area. And here we go. Pursuant to Executive Order 2022-09, this achievement, first of all, way to achieve, guys. Way to achieve. If you believe, nihi jatafan achieve. Yes, good achieving, guys. Way to go. If Guam continues to maintain a low level of risk, here's the hoop, guys. Effective at 12:01 on Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Guam's outdoor mask mandate is expected to be lifted. Individuals will not be required to wear masks in outdoor settings, but are to continue wearing masks in indoor public settings. Restrictions on indoor social gatherings are expected to be lifted. The social distancing requirements, whether in indoor or outdoor settings, are expected to be lifted. There's a quote from our governor: lifting the outdoor mask mandate, social gathering, and social distancing requirements, key words here, does not mean the public health emergency is over. Darn it. As a community, we should be proud of our progress and the vigilance we have practiced to this point. It is critical that we continue to ease out of emergency measures to ensure continuity of the operations and services our island relies upon. If we all work together to keep our metrics stable, we can all look forward. Oh my God, am I really going to read these next few words, guys? Wait for it. We can all look forward to the end of COVID-19 restrictions in May, and redirect our focus and resources from responding to the threat of the COVID-19 pandemic to recovering from it. And then Lieutenant Governor Josh got to get in, right? He's like, I want to quote too, as we anticipate easing restrictions, we urge everyone to practice mitigation strategies in light of their personal level of risk. That means if you have diabetes and you're not healthy, don't do anything crazy. Wear 5 masks, basically. No, I mean, serious, watch yourself. You know what I mean? And we've learned in this pandemic, it's the comorbidities, the pre-existing medical conditions that if you get the virus, it could lead you to go south. So that's kind of the play here, is to look out and take care of whether there are family members or you're one of these individuals, right, who is at risk because of your pre-existing comorbidities. Thank you for that, Lieutenant Governor. We urge everyone to practice mitigation strategies in light of their personal level of risk and to continue wearing masks and observing social distancing if you are or someone you are caring for is immunocompromised. Restrictions on facilities and activities, including schools, sports, and graduations, will be subject to public health guidance pursuant to the Executive Order 2022-09, effective May 3rd. If Guam continues to maintain a low level of risk, the mask mandate will be rescinded. Now, this is the regular mask mandate. Okay, so if we're good and you guys don't spread COVID everywhere, the outdoor mask mandate, there is an outdoor mask mandate in place, guys. People were like, what? You wear your mask outdoors? And it's for events. For example, I've actually performed at a couple events. The last event I performed at, I actually got down and I forgot to put on my mask because, I mean, yeah, if it's outdoors, you're at the beach, nobody wearing a mask. I go walk on the beach, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm just naked as God made me on the face, though. Not, trust me, I'm not all the, wow, that was weird. Yeah, but right, I feel like people are not wearing the mask in outdoor settings unless it's at like an event, like a business type event, because it is mandated. Right, but yes, there is an outdoor mask mandate in place. But if we are good and don't spread the COVID everywhere, guys, and we make it to April 19th, then the outdoor mask mandate will be lifted. And then if we jump through that hoop successfully, there's another one to jump through on May 3rd. And if we make it to May 3rd and we maintain our low risk status, don't do anything risky, guys. Buckle up, please. May 3rd, if this holds, the masks will end, according to the executive order. All right, good morning, 6:35. What do you guys think of this piecemeal lifting of restrictions, right? And again, I was thinking about it last night. You know, the governor's been very clear. She says it in her way. It's her way of saying things. That she's worried that, you know, if we end this public health emergency, the senators will be jeopardizing our lives, right? So she really feels like, you know, we're playing with fire here. And I mean, when I thought about it, it is what it is. Oh my God, I just said it. But you guys will complain when we open everything up so fast, and then you complain when we open everything up slow. I mean, I was right there complaining with you. But I'm really looking forward to the debate, the legislature, with this public health emergency resolution. It's going to be good. Yeah, so I was actually, Dr. Hoa just messaged me. Good morning, Doc. He's coming on tomorrow. All right, he testified at that the hearing to end the public health emergency for that resolution. Oh, also an interesting note here, guys. The outdoor mask mandate will be lifted on the first day of filing for candidates running in the election. Wait a minute. Is that... Wait a sec. See what they did there, right? Gotcha. Yeah, and it's also going to be 420 because you can't 420 while you're wearing your mask outside. Yeah, but Dr. Hoa says I didn't use my mask at Thursday night food truck. Yeah, I actually performed for Inspire Marianas at that Thursday night food truck thing, but we're kind of on the side. And then I went to walk around and just check people. You know what I mean? Like see people. So I went around with no mask. Wasn't a big deal. I mean, I wasn't like going up close to anyone. But yeah, Doc said it was windy and cool. It's impossible to catch COVID-19 in that setting. Unless you go like lick someone's face or, you know what I mean, right? I mean, got to do something pretty crazy. Don't do anything crazy because we need to maintain this low risk status, guys, so that we can get out of this and get on to campaigning. I want to just get onto this election. So that was the big news that came out yesterday. Yeah, I don't understand. Margarita Cassinger comments in here. LOL. I've been going to motorcycle races, drifting car races with my boys since January 2021, sitting on the grandstand. No one wore masks. Alive and well. Well, consider yourself lucky, Margarita. Santa Maria Comlin was protecting you. Yeah, and you watch in the States, right? In the States, they had a whole Super Bowl, and they had a Grammys, and somebody got slapped in the face, right, with no mask. I mean, and I get it. But what I also get is this ain't the States. This is not the States. Our hospital is falling apart. It's still falling apart. 600 gajillion ARP federal, and the hospital is still falling apart, right? So that's why we're being careful. Okay, that's why we're being careful. Because, according to the people in charge, they need this public health emergency to act quickly, right? To move, because these surges, they kind of happen overnight. I mean, sure, if you want to play devil's advocate, you could say that we went through a crazy surge with Omicron and the stealth variant, and the hospitals never reached the tipping point. You could say that. In a span of months, the hospitals never reached the tipping point. But again, the thinking is that this public health emergency, and I guess all facets of it, is needed by the administration to keep us safe, guys. Good morning. Thursday, April 7th, still no announcement from Congressman Michael Nicholas about whether or not he's going to be running for governor. This is a really, because he said he came out of the media and he said he's seriously considering, like this is seriously considering, right? Because it's been a minute. I'm not sure when that announcement's coming, but it's definitely going to make a splash for this decision 2022. Good morning on you guys. 640. Here's who's coming up. Senator Sabina Perez, Democrat. She's coming on at 7:30. I want to talk to her about the public health emergency with the procurement, right? We've heard time and time again that procurement has been an issue during this public health emergency. And I feel like it's one of the reasons why the senators were like, hey, hold on a second. Do we need to still be doing things in an emergency style, so to speak? So I want to ask Senator Sabina, could we procure things? Because we still have there's the health superpowers emergency procurement, and then there's the regular emergency procurement. And so I want to go on with this, Senator Sabina, and ask her if this public health emergency ends, what does it mean, right? Because you're hearing all kinds of different things. Some people are saying it's going to mean the end of the world. Others are saying it's not. So looking forward to Senator Sabina. We're also getting Senator Tello Taitagui in at 7. She has a new bill relative to the cost of living allowance, the COLA. So we'll get Senator Tello coming in. How are we doing this morning, Facebook Live? How are we doing? Was talking politics, just to because I want to, don't tell anyone this, okay, guys? Just between us. But I was talking to a friend of mine. I have a friend the other night, and we were talking about the election, and they were saying that, obviously Governor Lou's been out. She had the press conference. I mean, she's going in hard on this public health emergency resolution, right, defending it, and, providing all the justifications to the people of Guam, educating us about why this public health emergency needs to continue. And so this friend of mine I was talking to, they were like, oh, in the meantime, you're not hearing anything out of, the other gubernatorial teams, like, probably specifically referring to the Camacho Ada team. And it has been quiet. But then I heard they're kind of like behind the scenes, making the phone calls, getting the support and all that stuff. So I feel like the teams are preparing. Well, the two that we know of, I don't know about that other team. But, yeah, work hard. Let's bring our A game. It's going to be good. Did you guys register to vote? gec.guam.gov. You can go on there. You can register to vote. You don't even have to leave your house. You can do it sitting right where you're sitting right now if you have the high-tech internet phone. Just do that. It's gec.guam.gov. Facebook Live, Rosemary Laguatnia. Good morning on you, Miss Rosemary. She writes, good morning. Good morning, Mama Bear. Debbie Davis. Nick Jack comments, good morning, Jovi Castro. Good morning on you. Tony Martinez. Mananasi Zeus, Link family, be safe. And Joe, sir, coming from the beautiful village of MTM. Annie Bonds out of Killeen, Texas. Good morning. Chamarita Rages, Marcy Flores. Good morning. Marie Fernandez, good morning on you. Bev Tess J. Salas, good morning. Good morning, good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and get into our first look at news here. Brought to you by Pacific Points. Oh, JP Wen comments, Hoffaday all the way from Oaktown, California. Biba Guahan. CQ, Buenos and Hoffaday. Good morning on you, Melissa James. Good morning, Ron Huggan, Rockland, California, in the Hoos. Tammy Tenorio. Hoffaday, Buenos Dias. Good morning. Vince Bunchurageous. Good morning. Guam Hi from Norfolk, Virginia. Wow, good morning on you. Leslie St. Nicholas, good morning. Louise Mendiola, good morning, KUAM team. Good morning on you, Louise. Samantha Baker, good morning. Nesoranim, Hafaday, good morning on you. Angelo Esver, Hafaday, good morning. Angelo, good morning. Good morning, guys. Thank you for joining us here. Margarita, Paula, good morning on you. Vince comments, what about Good Friday when people on the island have to climb the mountain? Do they still have to use the mask? Yes, you do. It's a mandate. We have to wear the mask up the mountain because we have to wait 2 weeks. We have to wait 2 weeks. We already have the CDC low-risk designation from the CDC in America. The experts in the CDC who have been making these determinations from thousands of miles away about whether we're high risk or, hey, nobody go to Guam, they got the cooties over there, or whether we're low risk. So the CDC is the be-all, end-all. They are the top of the public health food chain. Am I correct? Yes, I am correct. They are the top of the public health food chain, right? Pretty much. And they said Guam is a low-risk area. And then Art St. Augustine and the team over at Public Health certified that, and now the clock starts. Waiting 2 weeks. What was the reason why we were waiting 2 weeks? Why can't we just run outside right now and rip off the masks and have a big mask bonfire? Right, to end the outdoor mask mandate that most people didn't even know was in place or haven't been following for the most part when I go around? Why can't we just lift the mask mandate today? Because we have the low-risk designation from both the CDC and from our very own hardworking public health people. Why can't we? Well, because we got to be safe. Got to be safe. They want to give this 2 weeks. Remember, everything they do, it's like 2 weeks. Before, in the first wave, it was always like 2 weeks. They lock us down for 2 weeks, and then we'll see how things are. So this is kind of like that. We're low risk, right? But I think they're anticipating that you guys are going to hear we're low risk, and you're going to go out and, go all. I mean, there's no limit on the outdoor gathering already. So I guess that's the reasoning, is that we got to wait 2 weeks and kind of stick our COVID finger in the air and see where we are with the cases and the hospitalizations. And then if everything's cool, then we can end the outdoor mask mandate. So clock starts today, guys. April 19th. That is next. I want to say that is on it's on a Tuesday. Yes, it's on a Tuesday, guys. So there you go. That's the big news this morning. It kind of came out last night, so I wanted to open the show and share it with you guys here. Paula comments in here, I hope the legislature knows what it means to end the public health emergencies to the hospital. We won't be able to buy PPEs in bulk due to procurement laws. Must be election year. Ron Uggan says, just stay safe, guys. Margarita Cassinger comments, that is true, Chris. Guam desperately needs a new hospital. Rosemary LaGuatnia, what is happening with the recovery task force? Dang, Rosemary, you pay attention. You pay attention. There's a recovery task force. They haven't been meeting, according to the people I talked to. In the governor's release with the low-risk designation, they talk about finally ending COVID-19 and beginning on the recovery. But I think a lot of us have already kind of been on that recovery thing, right? I hope so. Tourism, though, I'm hearing that we're not ready at all. There's no big plan, or is there? I'm not sure, but I know when we shut ourselves down, we came out with a video that was like, give us a moment. And as far as I'm concerned, the world still thinks we're in that moment. They're like, this is a long moment. So when we talk about recovery with tourism, where's the big push? I'm feeling like we should be having a big push, right? Yeah. Instead, it's a lot of infighting going on at the GVB board. You got the former Governor Carl calling everyone corrupt, which some might say is pot, kettle, black thing. So, yeah, recovery, let's do it. I'm ready. It's 6:48, Thursday, April 7, 2022. Rosemary, as far as I know, because I do know a couple people on the recovery task force, and from what I understand, they haven't been meeting. And I think it's, I don't know why they haven't been meeting, but they just haven't. And I'm pretty sure it's because there's so many other things going on. Jovi Castro, our hospital's falling apart, and our government wants a new office. Paula, we need emergency procurement for the hospital. Medical supplies are hard to get. They've been hard to get the whole pandemic, right? That's been the struggle. Out of Regencov, out of the monoclonal antibody treatment, the shortage of PPE, shortage of masks. The whole world has struggled with this. I know there are some people who look at us being in this pandemic, 2 years later and say, why don't we already have the stockpiles? Remember? Well, probably because it was a worldwide pandemic and everyone was eating up supplies. So, I don't know, but that's one of the justifications they say they need this emergency procurement because it allows them to do things quickly. Good morning. 6:49. Yeah, so we'll get into our news now, guys. There's a lot of news in the news. It's brought to you by Pacific Points right here on the link at 6:49 with the very latest from the KUAM News team. It is our link update. Good morning.
This news update is brought to you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Hafide, good morning, Guam. Here are your updates on the link. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has released its elder fraud report for 2021. According to the report, they've seen an alarming increase in criminals targeting senior citizens, and loss amounts are even more staggering. As for here in Guam, last year there were 16 complaints of elder abuse with a total loss of almost $1.6 million. As for the Northern Mariana Islands, there were 4 complaints with a total loss of $3,000. Overall, the crimes targeting seniors across the country detail multiple types of schemes, including romance scams, investment fraud, government impersonation, and tech support fraud. And the Maritime Law Enforcement Forum kicked off Wednesday at the Dusitani Resort. Daniel Perez has the details on the 3-day event involving the United States and Philippine Coast Guard agencies.
It's a combined effort from 6 different Coast Guard agencies to keep the seas in Southeast Asia and the Pacific safe. Deputy Commander of the U.S. Coast Guard Rear Admiral Peter Gautier and Commander of the Philippine Coast Guard Rear Admiral Ronnie Gil Gavan detail the importance of the Southeast Asia Maritime Law Enforcement Initiative.
What we do under this Southeast Asia Maritime Law Enforcement Initiative is we gather together to reinforce our relationships, conduct information sharing, see where we can better build capacity and capability to tackle the common threats that we have collectively with law enforcement on the high seas.
We believe that information exchange is the key to success in dealing with those issues. And information sharing needs trust and confidence. And there's still no substitute to building relationship by being with one another in things like this. So this is very important for us because we have to build relationships.
Rear Admiral Gautier stated it's imperative to get together now more than ever, since they increasingly find themselves threatened by transnational criminal organizations that smuggle drugs and people across international lines, as well as other illegal activities happening in Southeast Asia and the Pacific.
More and more we find illegal fishing to be a problem that's common within Southeast Asia and the United States as well. And so it's important for us to compare notes, exchange information, see where we can improve our relationships to better get after these problems.
Rear Admiral Gavan added how communication is key to building trust with other Coast Guard agencies and how it will help strengthen the Southeast Asia Maritime Law Enforcement Initiative.
As long as we keep on talking with each other, great things can happen. And SIMLI provides us that avenue for us to build that relationship because we are talking and dealing and tackling the things together as one people.
Other members attending the Maritime Law Enforcement Forum include senior leaders and policymakers from Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam to collaborate and expand maritime law enforcement partnerships. Daniel Perez reporting for KUAM News.
Over in the NMI, the involvement of a House prosecutor and the existence of an impeachment record for the Senate trial of Governor Ralph Torres hangs in the balance. Regional correspondent Tomas Manglutnia today asked Torres whether he would support the House's proposal for a 5-member prosecutorial team.
They have a rules. The House have their own rules. The Senate have their own rules. So we're here to follow the rules.
Governor Ralph Torres says he's sticking to the rules when it comes to the playbook outlining his Senate impeachment trial. We pressed the governor if he'd support the Senate, allowing the House to have 5 prosecutors instead of 1 as outlined in the rules.
There's a rules that the Senate has, and so I think they have their own rules and we follow those rules.
But that airtight rulebook continues to be challenged by the House and the Court of Public Opinion. While House leadership has said they would consider taking the Senate to court as a last resort, a war of words continues to dictate the procedural gridlock, and even the House clerk, Linda Muña, has had enough. Wednesday morning, Muña penned a response to the Senate clerk requesting a 30-day extension until May 6 and not tonight to resubmit the full impeachment record with the deficiencies the Senate found corrected. If the Senate does not accommodate that request, the trial could move forward without an impeachment record or House prosecutor. Muña says the Senate took 11 days to put together their objections. She wrote, "By contrast, I have only 48 hours to correct these deficiencies, which would entail rearranging thousands of documents from dozens of disparate sources. This is an unreasonable and unfair burden for me to complete within such a short time span." Muña also challenged some of the Senate's assertions of deficiencies, saying that the organization of the current record is accurate and reflects the nature of how they were received. She writes, "It would defeat the purpose to have a record which is mechanically organized chronologically, but which separates records which relate to one another and which were received together." Muña also requested being able to work with the Senate staff to parse through the errors on paper. She says complying with the rule by tonight's deadline is simply not feasible. KOAM has reached out to the Senate President for comment. Tomas Manglotnia for KOAM News on Saipan.
Some substantial relief for soaring gas prices is being proposed. Speaker Therese Terlahi is seeking public input on legislation that could mean a savings of as much as 23 cents a gallon at the pump. Nestor Lecanto reports.
A hearing is set for Thursday afternoon on a pair of bills by Speaker Terlahi to roll back the most recent 4-cent increase in the liquid fuels tax and another measure to eliminate the tax and related surcharges altogether. In an interview on The Link, she said, "We can't control U.S. shipping laws, we can't control global fuel prices, but..."
This is the one thing that Guam controls. That's the tax that we have put on gas. And so I'm hoping I can get the support of our entire community that we all together agree.
The fuels tax is meant to fund a variety of local needs, such as village road improvements. Terlahi says the government collects enough in other taxes to still cover that.
The impact of this bill, $10 million overall to the government of Guam, right? And we can clearly cover that with our $62 million excess revenues. And I would prioritize this, or covering, village street repairs with that $62 million over, above step recruitments, over additional hiring, over many, many other things that we are currently, that they're putting on the table. They want to hand out all the money, and I say, why don't we give it back to those people who are paying it to us?
She says the fuel companies she's talked to have reassured her that if the tax is lifted, they will pass the savings on to consumers.
Please, anyone out there who wants to talk about decreasing their fuel prices by 23 cents per gallon, please come to this hearing.
For KOAM News, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Similar state fuel tax rollbacks are being implemented or proposed across the country. Once again, the hearing on Terlahi's bill is set for today at 1:30 p.m. And just because a person is intoxicated does not mean they cannot be a victim of rape. And a bill by Senator Mary Torres would close a loophole in Guam's statute to stop defendants from using that as a defense. The Guam rape law is patterned after Minnesota, where the state Supreme Court ruled that the language did not clearly prohibit such a defense. The Minnesota legislature has since amended that statute, which local attorney and former prosecutor Christine Tenorio says Guam also needs to do.
Blame game as far as she should have known better because, she should have known not, or he should have not known not to take X many drinks or consume X many drinks in one night. So what this does, though, is that it closes that loophole, and as long as the prosecutors get the opportunity to argue to a jury that this person was too intoxicated to be able to consent, then those victims can still be treated as such.
Testimony during the hearing noted that Guam has the second highest per capita incident of rape in the nation, and bill sponsor Senator Mary Torres said this will help serve as a strong deterrent.
Importantly, we will send this clear message to our community that alcohol use is never an invitation to rape, and those who prey on the severely intoxicated will be punished.
Under current law, victims are not considered mentally incapacitated if they voluntarily consume an intoxicating substance prior to being sexually assaulted. And with COVID cases down, the Guam International Airport is easing up on restrictions it placed on the height of the pandemic. Daniel Perez reports.
What we've identified in flights that are coming in, especially from the U.S., that they're coming in full. The planes are coming in full. So yes, we're starting to see the increase in passenger movements coming into Guam and also transiting from Guam.
Executive Manager of the Guam International Airport Authority, John Kinatsa, confirmed the uptick in people coming to visit Guam. Due to that, as well as the low COVID numbers on island, the airport has lifted a lot of its COVID restrictions.
As of today, upon arrival, you no longer have the public health processing lines that you go through when you arrive on Guam. They're no longer there. So it's not required that these passengers do go through that. And one of the reasons is that the federal regulations that are continuing is that before a passenger comes in from any of the foreign countries, that they be vaccinated and also have a negative COVID test before they get onto the aircraft, or else they won't be allowed to get on the aircraft.
Kinats added what other restrictions have been lifted starting today.
In the arrival section, you can now come back like before, go in and meet your passengers that are arriving right when they come out the customs inspection area. So they're allowed to go in, and so there's no restriction of movements to go in there.
The executive manager stated that by Friday, all doors going in and out of the departure side will be open, so there's no longer a single point of entry. Social distancing will also be suspended by Friday, and that includes the queuing lines. Mask wearing is still required while inside the airport and on the aircraft. Thermal screening upon entry will also be suspended. However, thermal screening upon arrival will remain. Daniel Perez reporting for KUAM News.
Star Mariana's Air will provide inter-island air travel to Department of Defense personnel traveling between Guam and the NMI. The agreement between Star Marianas and the DoD covers the next 5 years under a blanket purchase agreement after a rigorous review and on-site evaluation last October by DoD officials. We are very excited to have been approved by the DoD and to work with them to support their transportation requirements within the Northern Marianas and Guam, said Jose Cruz, Star Mariana's Air General Manager. SMA is the only U.S. airline based in the CNMI and began its operations in 2009. And those are your headlines for this morning. We'll see you tonight on The Link.
This news update is brought to you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Let's get into more news brought to you by First Hawaiian Bank and presented by Uncle Ken Conception at 7:01. Good morning on you.
Buenas tardes to get sunto bitunut sa morgan ni KUAM News. Presenta ni Familian Mizo gi First Hawaiian Bank. Maresta si Justin James Tyron, 35 anos na edad, ang meresibi report na 2 na menor de edad sa mga atakan bus ni. Unong ibiktima no 13 anos na edad, asangan na nataki guyas Tyron, maski 40 biyahe, tatutong gudistia na 9 pa 10 anos sa edad niya. Segundo na biktima sa 12 anos sa sangani polisiya na nataki guyas Tyron, distia na 9 pa 11 anos sa edad niya. Unong na testigo sangani polisiya na tiahonggi na una famputi famagoon si Tyron. Afafa na si Tyron 4 na kwentan primer grado na criminal sexual conduct dan 4 kwenta na segundo grado na sexual criminal conduct. Gima si FBI sa release sa report elder fraud para 2021 na sakan. Siguro na na report mali isa na din na natisang kriminat siya no may emog imanamko. Jamas na man gwini sa guahan gimapos na sakan 16 na complaint man ma-file no anok sinakin slapi no kana 1.2 million pesos. Ginote Marianas 4 na complaint man ma-file por masakit pa todo 3,000 pesos. Patodi ka na DCCA kontra manamko entre todo Estados Unidos sa sinake bino pretendent por investment inagwaiza kado hende gobernamento dan kado por forma ajuda gisinipoten teknikat. Otro mas asunto Star Marianas na kompanya sa para managwa sa Mission Baconairi para personal de Department of Defense no man babuita entre Guahan dan Norte Marianas. Nakomprendi ng Star Marianas dan ni DoD sa kinubri 5 anos na tempo. Ngunit na posible na di blanket purchase agreement ang masenri kanosi sa ma-approve servisyo ni official ni DoD. Si Jose Cruz, si manager ni Star Marianas, asangan naman sen magosiya naman ma-approve servisyo niya ni DoD sa reglamento entre Guahan sa ni Norte Marianas. Star Marianas sa guiza di kiki na business bakonairi ni gagigisiya na may sa totoo ni business niya gi 2009 sakan. YouTube na sunto gifinut sa moro para bago ng webes gin ni KUAM News ang kontrata ni balon 36 million pesos sa ma-awardee Hensel Phelps Construction Company gin Hawaii ni Navmac Pacific para soto gini gizagwahan. Matare kompanya para mahat sa warehouse ki Cam Blas, warehouse para sagan karetan militar siya. Itsetso ni para matsogi gifinagwadzok sa debut man na fanazang gihulyo na mes 2024 na sakan. Para Guam News Network, Guausikin Conception. Yasuto gifinut sa moro sa presenta sa ninafatto ni Familian Mizo gi First Hawaiian Bank.
Say hello to the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app. Want a better look at your spending? With Money Map, you can automatically create budgets and manage where your money is going. Know when you have a green light or when it's time to slow down. Maybe cook more meals at home this week. Set your goals, track your progress, and find your way to exactly where you want to be with Money Map from the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app. It all starts with yes.
Taco Bell is so good and so cheap.
I know, right? I wonder why.
What if they know we're broke? What if They're trying to be the good guys.
Thanks, Taco Bell!
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
New Spicy Lovers Pizza from Pizza Hut. Hurts so good. With its spicy marinara and sliced red chilies. It's like a roundhouse kick to the taste buds. How's it looking? Don't be bashful with the fiery flakes now. I want it to be real spicy.
I haven't started yet.
Okay, I'm ready. The new Spicy Lovers Pizza. Get it while it's hot. You want respect? Red chilies get you respect. Knowing our pizza's the Hut.
Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape Superstore. Stop on by and visit our showroom today. We offer everyday low prices on all major outdoor power equipment like bush cutters, chainsaw, power washer, generators, and more. Need service, repair, maintenance? Well, check out Guam's best superstore only at Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape, located in Barragata along Army Drive between Submarina and Besta Market. Call 735-7446 for more information. Now shipping to surrounding islands. Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape Superstore.
Get the job done the right way by getting the right stuff at East West Rental Center. With years of experience helping builders, we definitely got what you need. Call 646-1463 or visit us in Upper Tumon. Open Monday to Saturday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Sundays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage. With generations of Filipinos calling Guam home, KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by KFC and the Medical City, where patients are partners.
Islands are still rising. We move ahead in this third year of the Decade of Action to our destination of a sustainable, equitable, and prosperous future. The breeze builds. Meet us on the journey, and let's harness wind in our sails to sustainable 2030.
We're living in a new world with new ways of communicating, connecting, and moving through life.
Every day seems to be marked with change, and with all these changes, you need trusted people you can rely on for advice and insights about the things that really matter.
Let Gina and I walk you through everything you need to know about real estate, from buying to selling to renting, and all the details in between.
Join us with Jason Solis every week on House to Home.
House to Home every Tuesday on KUAM News Extra, presented by Remax Diamond Realty.
Start off your middays with the menu on KUAM News Hotspot, your preview to the big news items. Broadcast on KUAM TV8 weekdays at noon with live stream on our social media platforms, plus an encore at 5 p.m. on KUAM TV11.
The Menu, brought to you by King's Restaurant, always open, always local, and Ruby Tuesday Guam, home of the Fresh Garden Bar.
Fansano da ni KUAM Communications mentors that adjuduti that reflected ang pagkaresma no lisado no denario. Ito di ni meddi hu faisen hamzo maila data fan lisado ifenot samoro pat feno English kada poengi gala shetti gi senisa dia dos gi marsu estai bet ni santo dia kinsi gi abit. Ekungog gi isla tomorrow streaming radio pasno egga pat hungmog masyafan na ora gizon mami podcast na network na niti todo edras median sosyal gi KUAM. Fan magov sa kahulo ugwi.
Connected through The Link. Each morning on Breeze 93.9 FM.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, 7-Eleven. Senator Teletidegui joins us. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Chris, KUAM family, and good morning, Guam. It's the Thursday.
Yeah, it's Thursday. I thought it was Friday. It's not, though. Let's just get right into it, Senator. I know that I feel like it was either you or Senator Joanne that I had on last time. We were talking about this knucklehead bill from Senator Joseph Augustine that randomly, this is a weird one. It was specifically to raise the compensation for GURA board members, and it was raising it from, I believe, like $50 to $250 a meeting. Am I correct?
A meeting, yeah, or $500 a month, or $6,000 a year.
Yeah.
To sit on that board as compensation, which is ironic. I mean, that's a 400% increase. I brought this up during session. Senator Joanne and I both stood up discussing how this bill it's going to basically start a domino effect, and show other boards and commissions that basically you're not worth the 250. Only GURA is. You're not that important. I mean, how many people do you know would sit on a parole board? I mean, that alone is a board that's, I'm sorry, I don't have the courage to sit on something like that, or other boards that meet, like the ABC board, that meet almost twice a month regularly and go over so many documents, to review documents on applications. There's just so many boards that are all important boards. Yeah. And if you're going to increase the stipends for them, you're taking away public service. You're taking away the fact that people are serving their community in a capacity that they can contribute to making Guam a better place.
Did he have like a party on the board or something? Because it just seemed weird that.
Does he have a party on the board? Yeah, that makes you think. When something like this comes up, you have to okay, what's connection?
Really going on here? So what happened with the bill, though?
Well, actually, it was on the floor. It was, like I said, Senator Brown and myself, we stood up and spoke about this bill. I think we were the only ones that did, except, St. Augustine saying, let's just put it on the board, put it on the floor and vote. But he ended up pulling the bill. I think he realized at that point, he doesn't have enough support for this bill to even garner, other than his vote, one other vote. So it was pulled, which I was happy was pulled. So
how's that work, Senator? I mean, we're like because obviously I think, personalities definitely play a part in the politics down at the legislature, right? So when you have, a senator like Senator Joseph Augustine, who comes out with a bill and people just don't agree with it, whatever, and maybe you shred it on the legislative floor. But what I'm wondering is if you have a bill in, let's say Senator Joseph Augustine's committee.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Does that mean there's payback because I get different senators on and they'll talk about, so-and-so's locked my bill up in committee. So I'm just wondering, when you do something like speak out against a colleague's bill, and then you also have a bill in their committee, is there any payback that happens?
There is, unfortunately, that's the way I see it. I mean, I'm very conscious of what's going on in the legislature. And it's unfortunately that games are being played in the legislature. It's like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And of course, the little clique group. And in the 35th, it was the mean girls. Now it's just a little clique that's going on. If this person says no, then everybody has to say no in that group, which is unfortunate, very unfortunate. And if we do speak up about it, I have that bill that I introduced, Bill 282, that's in Senator St. Augustine's committee.
This is the bill. So this bill, guys, I kind of talked about this on my Instagram yesterday. So what the senators did, because they weren't getting any information from the administration about the spending of ARP funds, and that, could be because the governor has the sole authority and discretion to use these monies. And I mean, she could have provided the information, but for whatever reason, it wasn't provided. So the senators, they put a little thing in the budget bill that required the administration to report monthly their ARP expenditures, and then the budget bill became law, and then that became law. But the reporting requirements maybe not as stringent as the legislature might have wanted, or the administration is just applying the bare minimum and adhering to the law. Because I was talking with somebody yesterday. It's like, you guys didn't need to pass a law, right? All of this could have been done, willingly, right? The providing the sharing of the information. But now you're going back and you've got this bill, which, I mean, some might say you guys should have done it right the first time, but it is what it is, right? So you've got this bill that's adding more teeth and more reporting requirements for ARP and infrastructure funds.
Right. Well, first, the budget bill didn't incorporate infrastructure funds that are coming in, which is about $198 million additional coming in. And that wasn't included in the budget bill because, of course, that was just recently passed.
Right, yeah.
It is an election year,
Wait, it's an election year, sir?
Well, you can start seeing it's an election year.
It's election. Oh, yeah, it is election year. Oh, I had no idea.
Now, finally, we're getting some road repairs. We're finally getting some information. We're lifting certain restrictions that really don't need to. Of course it is. It's unfortunate too. And then this ARP funding that was given to us since last year, which should have been given to the people of Guam, assisting the people of Guam, not only just in subsidies for their rental, the food stamp that's coming in, additional funding, but we're talking about workforce development. Training courses to rebuild our economy in a different perspective other than tourism, grow in that area. And it's not being done. But this bill, going back to the bill that was introduced a couple of weeks ago, more than a couple of weeks ago, is now in Senator San Augustine's committee. And that will incorporate ARP funding and infrastructure funding and how are you spending this money? How are you itemizing it? If you're going to give it to the Department of Women's Bureau, which is one of the areas that funding
the Bureau of Women's
Affairs. What are you spending it on?
Right,
yeah. What exactly at the Women's Bureau are you spending, umpteen amount of money there? And there's nothing indicating. And it's so important because when we go into the budget bill, we need to know where this money is being placed in that department and agency so that when we fork out, on the general fund money, that's already been applied to, And so it's very instrumental, this information for us as we go into the budget. And I'm sorry, but only certain senators that are privy to, what the plan is. That's ridiculous. The people of Guam need to know what the plan is so they can stand behind it, and rally with what needs to be done and work with it. So it's just unfortunate, that the games in the legislature amongst some certain senators. For an example, my bill that that was on the floor, it passed. Thank goodness, with 9 votes, it passed.
Wait, which one is this, Senator?
The adoption bill that
Okay.
actually, it's very simple. If a company is coming on this island that wants to open up an adoption agency, they've got to go to, before they get their license or business license, they have to go to public health to get clearance from public health. I mean, it's just like anything you get when you're opening a business. You've got to go to fire, you go to DPW, you got to go all these regulatory agencies and clear it off.
Yeah.
Well, something as important as our children, of course, you need to go to public health to get clearance there, and then you can go to Rev and Tax and get your EIN number or your business license. Yeah. It's a very simple bill. I mean, even public health and even not only in public health, but also Rev and Tax all supported it.
Wow.
But because it was my bill and a certain senator who was been up in arms since my adoption bill, pointing out the fact that you're putting the cart before the carabao on legislation for adoption, doesn't like it. So you had 3 people voting no on this bill. 3. Why? I asked. And Of course, I heard one person's explanation on why that senator voted no, which was ridiculous because it was total conflict of interest. But whatever excuse they make, it wasn't made for the best interest of the people of Guam. I mean, why would you vote no on something like that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, and the timeline on this, Senator, is that they're all of this stuff with adoption and public health was nothing until this off-island Hawaii adoption company. It's a private business. They're a private business. Came here and made buddies with Senator Amanda Shelton, Senator Mary Torres, Vice Speaker Tina Munia Barnes, and they basically got bills introduced that totally favor them. And then so when the senators like Senator Tello tried to go back and put in rules and regulations, like we should have in place, that's where it got a little heated, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and then look what's happening right now with adoptions. I mean, we're a society that's always been one to take care of each other. When girls or kids get in trouble, the family always steps up to take care of that child and keeping the child within the family. So it's not something that was, desperately needed. I'm sorry, I sound so passionate about this, and I know I come off sounding a little like, complaining a lot, but I think it's the only way for the people of Guam. If I don't speak up and provide this information to the people of Guam, they're not seeing what's really going on. And I highly recommend that you go onto YouTube, because these sessions are recorded. These public hearings are all recorded. Don't take my word for it. Watch for yourself. And the people of Guam are smart enough to see what's going on. So look at that. But when it comes to adoption, I mean, you're going to get some crazy things happening. Like, did you see that latest thing on Facebook from Dr. Shea? He puts on his Facebook page. I don't know if you've seen this, Chris. I'm sorry to bring it up, but that just shows you how it's so important we're careful about how we move in the direction of these adoption agencies coming to Guam, because this is the beginning of human trafficking.
Yeah.
Everybody out there, just Google Marshall Islands human trafficking, and you'll find out what happened in that island. But Dr. Shea puts on March 20th, he puts on his site, I'm currently not accepting new patients, but if you choose life and then adoption in parentheses over abortion, I will accept you and deliver your baby for free. We have a list of patients who are willing to adopt and provide your baby with loving family. Thank you for your consideration. Oh my goodness, did you see this? I mean,
what are they getting ahead? You know what I mean?
Wow. What is he doing? He has a list of parents. I mean, there's a process.
Yeah.
This was, I hope somebody's sending this, I think somebody did, to the Guam Board of Medical Examiners on Dr. Shea. Advertising something like this, we'll do it for free, but I'm not accepting any clinics, only if you give me your baby. So I can give it to some families.
I mean, if you guys follow the session, and the Senator Tello said, don't take her word for it, watch the session. You can take my word for it, and that's exactly what I feel happened. Is that we had this off-island adoption company come, and certain senators who routinely support special interest legislation fell over themselves, trying to welcome this adoption company, and now that's what happened. Is they got a sweetheart deal with special interest legislation from those special interest senators. And now here we are after the fact with the Senator Tello and several of our other colleagues are trying to basically clean up the mess that Senator Amanda, Senator Mary Torres, and the Vice Speaker made. Senator Tello, I know that I wanted to ask you and talk about this COLA bill that you have.
Absolutely. It's the second part of the two series of bills that I introduced on COLA. Of course, the first one was introduced to codify the $2,000 of cost of living allowance that's always been given to our retirees since 2014. And the second phase of the COLA program that I'd like to put through it's called a cost of living adjustment, very similar to what the federal government is doing right now. And, inflation is going up, the cost of living is going up, and everyone is just on a fixed income. So basically in a nutshell, it provides a cost of living adjustment, acronym still COLA, C-O-L-A, but it's done in a responsible manner and through a group of individuals, economists, as well as Department of Labor, as well as not rev and tax, but retirement, coming together and assessing this through a price index and using a inflation calculator. It's similar like the U.S. Department of Statistics and Plans, and similar to the way the federal government is done for their employees, to assess what is the true cost of living. But we're using the $40,000 threshold. Anything from $40,000 and below receives this adjustment. Flat rate adjustment, while going further up, anybody who's a retiree receives more than $40,000 and $1 all the way up to $100,000. Believe it, there's quite a bit of people in the retirement receiving annuities above $100,000, but that will be done in a sliding scale. We took the same example of what Alaska is doing. Alaska has done the same thing, but the caveat here is that this adjustment is done for those retirees who live on Guam, who stay here, because every dollar that's given out, the tax base actually yields about $1.30. So the money is staying here in Guam. And there are quite a bit of retirees who left the island and moved away. So what we're doing is addressing that situation with those who have been on a fixed income, creating a task force not task force, but a group of individuals to determine that.
Don't say task force.
I don't want to say task force, no.
Senator,
yes.
so this adjustment, would this be something where you adjust the COLA and then it just stays at that level moving forward?
No, it's adjusted every year. It's reviewed every year.
Wow.
I mean, that's the same, like I said, it's the same scenario that the federal government does to their employees.
I see, right on.
It's adjusted every year.
So how does this is different than there was another COLA bill, I thought, from Senator Shelton that just gave it was a freebie $500.
Well, it's like $100 a year or something like that, or for the next 2 years, additional, but there's no justification in it. Yeah. It's just random. Even the $2,000 that was given to retirees 8 years ago was random as well. There was no justification as to why. And what's important is that, these are going to our government of Guam employees, and the money is coming from not just government of Guam employees, but it's coming from the private sector. Yeah. They contribute to the general fund, which pays out these retirees their annuities. So it needs to be justified, most especially by our private sector who pays taxes. And that, once upon a time, the DB plan for the retirement was what enticed people to come and work for the government of Guam. We were getting a lot of people coming from off island wanting to work for government of Guam because of such a great, retirement plan. Yeah. But we all knew that was driving us into, debt, big time, bankruptcy. It bankrupt CNMI. And now we are coming to something more of a, 401k type of process. And it's not as, enticing anymore on the retirement. But
they find many other ways to make it employment of the government of Guam enticing, Senator. Can we, I'm sorry, because I got Senator Sabina standing by, but I wanted to close with the public health emergency, because I know that you, there was a story because the Progressive Democrats, remember, they come out, they said, oh, thank you so much, Tello, for pulling your support of the resolution, which you didn't even do. And then you had come out with a response. But I know that your concern with ending the public health emergency was relative to the emergency SNAP benefits. So I wanted to ask, because we did ask the governor. They had a similar situation in Hawaii, and the Hawaii governor, Governor Ige, what he did was he called off, I guess, certain parts of the public health emergency, but then left other aspects of it still up and running so that it preserved like the emergency SNAP. But when we asked the governor if she would do that, she said her response was, why should I?
Oh, so I didn't hear. Oh my gosh.
Well, she said, why should she do that? Let me give you the whole answer, Senator, to be fair. She said, why should I do that when I could just leave the public health emergency declaration that's currently in place in place?
Well, I think she should start listening to the people of Guam, which she hasn't been doing lately. People try to, have meetings with her to get some answers. A lot of those people came to testify during the public hearing, just wanted answers, and they're not being given it. They're not given the time of day. And this is who she works for. She works for the people of Guam, just like I do. We're public servants to the people of Guam, so we need to hear them. But it's, we're doing. I don't know where Julian Jameson gets off speaking for me, but I'm pretty sure they're all going to get brownie points, to try and make any Republican look bad, and try and take us down, or, who's ever not in the in group, they'll try and make us look like we are not doing our job. And in reality, this Julian Jameson or progressive
Jansen.
Democrats.
Julian Jansen.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. See, I don't even know his last name correctly.
So the progressive Democrats.
He doesn't speak for me.
Okay.
He doesn't speak for me at all.
Right, yeah.
That's not the case. It's the opportunity for us to sit down together, talk about an exit plan. We can take this resolution, make some amendments to it to ensure that we don't lose federal funding. And as far as FEMA is concerned, that's another area we have to be concerned about because of the traveling nurses. But in the end result, whatever we spend from any ARP funding, COVID or FEMA money that's coming in, we need to spend it correctly. It needs to be transparent, because the last thing we want to do is end up having to reimburse, certain federal funds because we're not spending it correctly. And we have to be very careful. But at the end, it's an exit plan that needs to be amended. I don't know what happened to the recovery task force. I mean, where are they? There is no sign coming into how are we going to move into a new norm, because it's going to have to be a new norm after something like this, a pandemic. People realize that something can happen like this again. So we need to be prepared. And I don't see anybody working in that direction right now.
Okay. So, yeah, looking forward to the debate on the floor. So in your response to the progressive Democrats, you said that you were still studying the resolution and you were eagerly awaiting the discussion on the floor. Have you moved any closer towards leaning one way or another yet, Senator?
At this point, I've been dissecting the Organic Act of Guam as well as Chapter 19 in the public health to determine there are other options that can be taken. You did mention the one about Hawaii, the governor in Hawaii, to maintaining it. And as long as we don't jeopardize certain funds, because that's 2.3 million. And during the public hearing or before the public hearing on the resolution, I did some work and I found the documents that showed every month how public health submits a form. And along with that form is the accompaniment of the executive order showing we're still in a state of emergency, which is required. So if you listen to the almost 4 hour public hearing on that, you'll hear most especially Test Archangel, who oversees the SNAP program. It gives examples as to what's going to happen in transpire. But then again, there are options that we can use into a type of an emergency where we can still maintain it and then allow us to go back to what's called a new norm. But I think most especially an exit plan is needed. Yeah. I just hope the governor this time calls us up and not one of those come to my office, sit down, tell me what you want, how you want to spend this ARP funding, and then we put all this plan together and effort on our ideas and how to spend it, and then she go, okay, thank you, goodbye. Remember that?
I'll call you.
I'll call you later, and I'm like, wait, what's going to happen? And I mean,
Senator, though, do you understand the gravity of this resolution? From the governor's perspective, she says it's totally dangerous, and that senators are jeopardizing the lives of the people of Guam. So when the governor says those kind of things, does it change the vibe of this upcoming session for you? Do you feel like you guys are making big decisions that, like the governor said, could jeopardize our lives?
I think there's a lot of information out there that needs to be, not just on our perspective, on our research, but hearing the people of Guam and what direction they want to go to is most and foremost important. I mean, we're the voice of the people. We have to hear what they say. And I think that when we come to this resolution on the session floor, a lot of things are going to be hashed out. I'd like to hear what other senators have to say with how to move this forward, but I think we're going to do it in a responsible way. And I don't think that we have any intentions of losing any federal funding at all. We can still do this. I mean, 30 other states already are out of a state of emergency and moving into that direction. It makes you wonder, if we do get out of the state of emergency, is our economy going to, start boosting up again? Are we going to start seeing revenue being generated? Well, right now we have that option to work on a new workforce development with regards to, going in a different direction other than tourism to build our economy. And this is her opportunity to do that, and that's not being done.
Hey, when is the State of the Island address? Well, let me ask the speaker.
I'm not sure. They usually decide on their own, or is it by law that they have to do one?
I thought they have to do it by like a certain date, or.
It's a good question.
Okay.
I'll have to find out.
Let me find out too. Senator, thank you so much for your time, and we're very excited for this discussion on Resolution 291.
Yeah, I think everyone should be. And please, I encourage everyone to look at the public hearings. It's all recorded when you get home from work. I know that's probably the last thing you want to look at, but
no way, that's entertaining. I'm telling you guys, this session coming up, it's going to be more entertaining than whatever shows you're watching, unless it's American Song Contest on NBC.
Well, it has to do with everybody who lives on this island.
Yeah,
you have to take a notice to what's going on, because you're living here, and it's the future for yourself as well as for your children.
I just hope that we have a good, healthy debate on it. And, right now it kind of seems like both sides, maybe a little bit of all or nothing. And I think once that first compromise comes through, hopefully things will move smoothly after that. Senator, thank you. I got to run.
Yeah, everyone, create a great day. Be safe out there. Okay.
Right
Bye-bye.
on. Yes. Good morning, guys. 7:38. Here's what happened last night, or late yesterday afternoon. The Public Health has certified the CDC's designation. Can we pop that up? Let me read this. We're going to Senator Sabina Perez next, Democrat. She's the chair of the Procurement. And she's got a bunch of different things to talk about. And I also wanted to ask her about procurement in the public health state of emergency. And are we able yet, or does she think we're able to move on with the stale, balale, regular procurement? Right? Nobody wants to do that. Everyone got used to fast tracking this whole emergency thing, so they could get all the things that they need. Let's ask Senator. But in the meantime, let me go ahead and read you guys this release here, as the clock has started ticking on the end of the mask mandates. Okay, as Guam is certified low risk in the CDC community level. The Guam achieved low level of risk pursuant to the U.S. CDC community level metrics and achievement certified by Public Health and accepted by Governor Lulian Guerrero. Pursuant to Executive Order 2022-09, this achievement starts the 14-day timeline. You hear that, guys? Clock's ticking. That's what I hear. It starts the 14-day timeline on gradually easing community restrictions. If Guam continues to maintain a low level of risk, effective at 12:01 Tuesday morning, April 19th, Guam's outdoor mask mandate is expected to be lifted. Individuals will not be required to wear masks in outdoor settings, but are to continue wearing masks in indoor ones. Restrictions on indoor social gatherings are expected to be lifted. Yep, you can have your big balls, your big fundraiser, right? Big whatever it is you're trying to do. Social distancing requirements, whether in indoor or outdoor settings, are expected to be lifted. There is a quote from the Gov lifting the outdoor mask mandate, social gathering, and social distancing requirements. Wait for it. does not mean the public health emergency is over. As a community, we should be proud of our progress and the vigilance we have practiced to this point. It's critical that we continue to ease out of emergency measures to ensure continuity of the operations and services our island relies upon. If we all work together to keep our metrics stable, we can all look forward to the end of COVID-19 restrictions in May and redirect our focus and resources from responding to the threat of the COVID-19 pandemic to recovering from it. Yeah. And so that May thing, what that's about is if we're good and get on our best COVID behavior, April 19th, the outdoor mask mandate's lifted. And then 2 weeks after that, which would be on May 3rd, the mask mandate generally, indoor, outdoor, in the bathroom, upside down, head in the ground, underwater, wherever you're at, you don't know how to wear a mask. If things stay on this track. Okay, so that's where we're at this morning, all right? So those of you who are talking about ending the public health emergency or, talking about an exit plan, I think this is it. This is kind of like the exit plan as far as the mandates and the restrictions go. So that's where we're at. It's Thursday, April 7th. Democrat Senator Sabina Perez joins us on the link here. Good morning, Senator Sabina.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Guam. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Of course. Yeah, we'll just get right into it, Senator. I wanted to ask about the procurement, right? So there's this already a huge debate, and hasn't even been debated on the floor with this resolution 291. You got the governor saying the food stamps are going to end. Senator Tello Taidegui's concerned about that. We're wondering about the FEMA. We're wondering about all these things that we're able to do because we're under this public health emergency, and we're wondering what is in jeopardy truly. What's truly in jeopardy? Our lives, or is it a dangerous move, or whatever? So I wanted to ask you, because you're the procurement chair, just your thoughts. I mean, have you come to a decision on whether or not we need kind of to stay in this public health emergency from a procurement standpoint?
Well, what I think public health-wise and procurement-wise may not be the same. But I think, with the way the procurement law has been changed, really the emergency procurement has been reformed so that anytime an agency is going to use emergency procurement, beyond 90 days, they have to have a public hearing. And so the first sign of implementation of this law was with the Guam Airport Authority. So they did have a public hearing for their extension of, I believe it was the baggage handling procurement. Nobody showed up, but at that time, but I think at this point, the more publicity and more engagement the public has, I think that would increase the pressure on agencies to, wean themselves off emergency procurement. And so I think that, in drafting the law and drafting the bill, there was a balance to be made. There was some recommendation of perhaps avoiding the contract and as a way to end the use of emergency procurements when there wasn't any a good determination for it or the use of it. And so I chose not to go that route because we should we really need those services, that would put us in a bind. And so the medium pathway, the intermediate pathway would be really to kind of guide these agencies to wean themselves off emergency.
I want to key on what you just said there, Senator. You used the word wean, right? And, for me, that word has connotations, right? Like, first of all, you're addicted to something, right? And it's not a positive connotation. When you have a young child and they're on the bottle or the breast, you're weaning them off. It's so that they can eventually kind of like stand on their own and, grow up. So when you use that word wean off the procurement that they're used to, can you kind of describe what is it you think that the government of Guam has become accustomed to or comfortable with in terms of the kind of procurement that we're doing in this state of emergency?
Well, yeah, I think, these past years have been very different from what previously has existed. And so when I started creating this bill, it was actually started before the pandemic existed. And then then we got to change the bill as it progressed, right? And so this idea, initially the law was that emergency procurement can only last 30 days. And that's a very quick amount of time. So for instance, if an agency truly is under an emergency, basically they're facing unforeseen circumstances, and it's not due to a lapse in management, right? So, or planning for procurement, or any kind of like maybe protest that exist, right? And so they were only given 30 days, and that's a very short amount of time to really create the documents that are needed for these longer term procurements, the traditional procurements. And so what this bill does, it expands that the emergency procurement period to be 90 days. And those that gave testimony said that should be sufficient amount of time to create these documents and award a contract within that amount of time. So really, that's maybe what I mean by the term weaning, is that now they have more time to develop these solicitations and to award a contractor.
Because we have seen, I mean, Senator, on this very show, we've discussed the examples where it looks like the procurement is not really on the up and up, right?
Yeah, I think you brought a lot of that to light. But yeah, it's. I think the question was, though, were they really truly using emergency procurement? Were they following it? And there was in the oversight hearing that I had, there was evidence that there were 3 quotes, even more than that, and so that should have been enough. I think emergency procurement should have been enough to satisfy the needs of the government to get the quarantine facilities. I believe that was one of the
right.
issues.
Yeah. So let me get this. Tell me if I'm right on this, Senator. So you think that when it comes to procurement and the type of procurement we're doing in the public health emergency, that we have an emergency procurement in place that they could use, right, outside of the public health emergency? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. Emergency procurement, basically what emergency is defined as is any unforeseen event. And that the services and the goods that are needed by the government need to be procured quickly.
Right.
So
does that mean that you think that we can do procurement, emergency procurement, without a state of emergency declaration?
Oh, there are 2 routes. So one is that there has to be the governor has to basically be in a state that there's a public health emergency. Right. The other route would be a certificate by the using agency. And so we included environmental emergencies as one. That was one of the ways, that was one of the things that we reformed about the law, is to include environmental emergencies. Such as invasive species. There was a case in the past where there was such a delay in addressing the coconut rhinoceros beetle that had they been able to procure the supplies, it may not have gotten out of hand. So that's why we included that in this bill, in emergency procurement. So there has to be 2 routes. One is the governor. The other one is this certificate of emergency by an agency. And they all require, determinations. They have to be. There has to be a rationale, and it all has to be in the procurement record.
Senator, while we're talking about procurement and emergencies, do you have an update on the financial management system for the government of Guam?
Yeah, my apologies. I don't have any updates on that one. It looks, it hasn't. I haven't seen any award yet in that one. I know the Department of Administration is really eagerly looking to update their system. It would definitely streamline the procurement process.
Right. So when we started this discussion on procurement, you said that your thoughts on the public health emergency and procurement were different, right?
Yeah. So I think that, the question is, are we in an endemic versus a pandemic, right? And, that's always a hard call. I think we always have to look to the science in determining whether we remain in the public health emergency. So for me, the overriding concern is the health of our people. I think protecting our people is of utmost concern for me, whether to stay in a public health emergency or not. And so, when you look now, look at, in Shanghai, for instance, China, they are shutting down their city. Half of their city is being shut down while they test one half, and then they shut down the other half. So we're seeing an upsurge in cases worldwide. And, we know that when that happens, it eventually comes to our shores. We see the uptick in surges here, just like we saw with Omicron. There's new variants coming out. So for me, we're not out of the woods yet. And, the other consideration, I know a lot of jurisdictions in the US are ending their public health emergencies. But I think one thing that is of concern for me is that we have a population with a high comorbidity rate. And so I think that in the interest of protecting the most vulnerable, I think it's really, we need to err on the side of caution when we're lifting the public health emergency. Right. And also, more importantly, is the healthcare capacity. It hasn't dramatically improved. If we're going to, lift the public health emergency, do we have enough capacity? Already in the paper today, the headlines are there's already an increase I'm seeing of cases and hospitalizations. So, so that's something, we have to be very careful before we lift the public health emergency.
Do you think it's a case, though, Senator, of all or nothing, lift it or not? Or do you think when you guys get into the committee of the whole, when you get into the discussion and the debate, that we could end up with something that's kind of piecemeal where, okay, like the concerns you mentioned, where we have an emergency for, dealing with that, and we have one for, saving the food stamp or whatever?
Yeah, I think my perspective is more health-based, science-based. The other logistics of it, of course, is important consideration. But for me, the predominant consideration is the health capacity and the health of our community.
Yeah, and that is the big question mark, I think, and that's the big part of the equation. I totally get it. You're right. Our healthcare system has not dramatically improved at all during this pandemic. And when people talk about, 30 other states have ended their public health emergencies, I would just say, newsflash, this isn't the States. We're a territory. There are many disparities that, keep us from being on the same level as an American state, and we just don't have the infrastructure or the healthcare capability in the event that the COVID ramps up super quick. But I wanted to, what you said about Shanghai and the variants, I know that there's a few of the doctors that listen to the show, and they've been telling me that, we're talking about these, there's surges. There are surges going on, in different parts of the world. But what they're saying is that we've been through those surges because we had Omicron, and what made the Omicron surge so bad was that it was Omicron and then it was Omicron 2. And so a lot of these places are struggling with the stealth variant, which we've already dealt with, which some of the doctors think that our population would be kind of immune to.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's a good point. I think too, managing expectations is also very important. If we're going to lift everything, I think we still need to have certain precautions in place. Whether if it is true that we're protected from due to whatever our
immunity,
herd immunity,
right? Yeah.
So to speak. But I think, this idea of going back to, norm, like prior to COVID, I think, maybe need to be modified. I believe it needs to be modified. I think what's more impactful is we swing from one thing to another, right? Removing all the protections, then having all of a sudden to go back to shutting things down. So I think really perhaps the medial approach needs to be taken, so that we can, have this, expectations. Our expectations are met that, okay, we're going to have these precautions in place, and it's not going to be so drastic. Should there be a sudden surge, right? So the idea is perhaps keeping certain protections in place to prevent such upswings. I think that's probably the approach I would recommend.
Right. I mean, I'm looking forward to the debate, and I'm interested to look at what we did in the last surge, right, and the ways that we responded, and what did we do differently, or what do we do that required the public health emergency? Because from what I recall, it was, and I don't want to say it was hands off in the last surge, but remember, they didn't really ramp up restrictions, or kind of do anything extra that we did in the previous surges. So, well, I'm just excited for this to get. I mean, just us talking about this, Senator, I can see all the sides of it, right? Because it's a topic where, I mean, how would you fault someone who is just trying to make sure that the people of Guam are safe, right? I mean, it's kind of a hard stance to argue against.
Yeah, and I think too, we're also forgetting that perhaps these the viruses do evolve over time, and there's been cases where the most virulent, most dangerous strain eventually evolves into something more manageable.
Right.
So we're hoping that that's the case, but again, things it may not necessarily evolve into something that's less harmful, but we have to be ready for it, ready for what changes occur with the virus itself.
Right. So are you like pretty firm on your stance on the public health emergency? What would it take during the committee of the whole for you to hear to kind of maybe say, oh, we might be good or not?
Yeah, I think the science really has to the evidence has to be there. And, doing the research too in regards to, in the past, when did a pandemic become an endemic? Right. So I think, that information would be important to get and to look at. In addition, of course, how do we protect our public? Are the measures sufficient enough to protect our people?
Rev and tax, Senator?
Yeah, I don't have anything to report at this moment.
Labor, workforce training?
Yeah, still working on that. There's, the pre-apprenticeships is something that I'm really promoting in order to, get people back to work. There's also something that is of interest to me. I know when one of the first CARES Act, the first Family First Corona Relief Act, what that provided was basically government was able to provide subsidies for workers that had to call in sick. And so they gave tax credits to businesses. I hope we can do that again or continue to do that while we're in a public health emergency, that for those that are sick, that companies would be provided some sort of relief.
Yeah.
For the work.
That's interesting too, because I know a lot of people who, back when we were contact tracing or whatever, who would miss, up to 14 days just because they were a close contact, right? 'Cause the way we've handled the close contact situation, it evolved throughout the pandemic. But I know a couple of my cousins who, they finished all their leave because they were a close contact and they couldn't go to work for, 7 days or 10 days or whatever the protocols might have been at that time.
Right, and that's a hardship. And some workers actually come to work sick because they need the money.
Reality.
So that needs to be extended through ARPA funds. Hopefully we can use those funds for that.
Environment, Senator?
So yeah, I introduced the bill. It's a Zero Waste Act. And what it does, it would reprogram the funding from the Recycling Revolving Fund to go towards zero waste projects. Right now, the US EPA, the plan is to reduce waste 50% by 2030 and 70% by 2045. And I think that's very achievable here on Guam because almost half of our waste stream is biodegradable. So a lot of that can be turned into compost material, which is a useful product. It helps to promote water conservation as well as soil health. That could be the basis for building up our agriculture, producing locally. So so I think that's something that I'm trying to promote because we have a limited landfill space. It would also help to reduce the costs of having to truck the waste down to the south. Most of the residents and businesses are up in the north, and the trash is trucked down to the south. So if you imagine 50% reduction of waste going down to our landfill, which means 50% reduction of, the use of gas, the roads, that sort of thing. That's a huge benefit for, the environment, for, economically speaking. It's something that I would like to really promote. This is something that's been in the works, I think, for 15 years. This is something that I've promoted for 15 years, and it's taken this long to get to this point, and definitely would like to advocate for this and work towards it.
Well, I wish you luck on that, and if it's anything like your last couple bills, should be pretty okay. As I saw the release from your office that you had two bills to strengthen public trust pass unanimously. This is the release from Senator Sabina Perez's office. There's one about insurance. Doesn't sound so sexy. But this bill 236 aims to increase transparency and accountability of the use of small purchases by requiring 3 positive quotes from qualified vendors and by strengthening documentation and reporting requirements for all government agencies, including autonomous and semi-autonomous, in addition to line agencies. So you got all of your colleagues to vote on this. Wow.
And not only that, I got a lot of collaboration on how to improve the initial bill that I introduced. And so it just made it stronger. And really, it answered a lot of, basically, I just want to say thank you to the stakeholders that came to me. And they actually, they gave me this idea to reform small purchases, because really there's very little transparency when it comes to small purchases. And yet the auditor, the OPA, came out with a report saying that a lot of these small purchases add up to large purchases, especially if they're using it in a serial manner.
Right. Yeah.
And not only that, there was evidence to show that there was preferential treatment for some vendors. So when we're talking about improving procurement, we want to project this idea that the procurement is fair, and by doing so, it fosters competition and best value for the government. So, so I want to thank my colleagues for their support on this.
Right on. Right on, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you. Be safe.
Yeah, likewise. Take care.
Yes,
Take care.
Okay. Senator Sabina Perez there. Yep. Procurement. She's been a steady on the link, even from when it was containing COVID and procurement. I mean, we've talked about so many procurements here, whether it was the quarantine facilities or the emergency golf carts or whatever. So she seems to think that we have an emergency procurement. Well, we do have an emergency procurement statute in place that would allow the government to move quickly, and that they don't necessarily need the emergency procurement that we're using under the Emergency Health Superpowers Act. It's 8:04, Thursday, April 7th. Good morning on you guys. How are we doing, Facebook Live? Good to see you guys. Samantha Baker, absolutely entertaining. Talking about the election. I can't wait. Popcorn emoji. Rosemary Laguatnia, sounds like it's totally dangerous, is similar to her prepare for the super typhoon comment. Mike Gogui comments, this is all about the dollar signs and not about the people. Rosemary comments, ARPA funds were given to Guam last year but not spent until election year. It was so obvious to thousands of people. You're right, Senator Tello, we're not idiots. Good morning on you guys. The show's brought to you by Calvo Enterprises, ITN, and Jack in the Box. We're going to take a quick break and come back with your 8 o'clock newscast, which is brought to you by Pacific Points. And we're also going to go to the NMI for regional coverage with Tomas Maglotnia. And we're also getting the public auditor, BJ Cruz. They've been shooting out audits over there at the OPA's office. We'll talk about that and maybe get his 2 cents on this small purchases bill that passed unanimously at the Legislatura. It's 8:06. We're KUAM FM Agani Guam. Quick break, and we're back with our 8 o'clock newscast next. Good morning.
We're taking care of business with GTA on KUAM Digital. Tips and advice for your business to get more productive, efficient, and streamlined with pro tips, tools, and other services. We're navigating through the best practices in tech, operations, and beyond every month with the help of our friends at GTA on KUAM Digital. GTA, we start with you.
We're living in a new world with new ways of communicating, connecting, and moving through life.
Every day seems to be marked with change, and with all these changes, you need trusted people you can rely on for advice and insights about the things that really matter.
Let Gina and I walk you through everything you need to know about real estate, from buying to selling to renting, and all the details in between.
Join us with Jason Solis every week on House to Home.
House to Home every Tuesday on KUAM News Extra, presented by Remax Diamond Realty.
Watch Mariana's artists, activists, and visionaries and their quest to protect, preserve, and promote our Chamorro culture on the Culture Club, a weekly feature on KUAM News digital platform and the KUAM News Weekend Edition. Brought to you by Tropicool Ice.
Start off your middays with the menu on KUAM News Hotspot, your preview to the big news items. Broadcast on KUAM TV8 weekdays at noon with live stream on our social media platforms, plus an encore at 5 p.m. on KUAM TV11.
The Menu, brought to you by King's Restaurant, always open, always local, and Ruby Tuesday Guam, home of the Fresh Garden Bar.
Islands are still rising. We move ahead in this third year of the decade of action to our destination of a sustainable, equitable, and prosperous future. The breeze builds, meet us on the journey, and let's harness wind in our sails to sustainable 2030.
Subscribe to our KUAM News Digest, our weekly email newsletter with all kinds of information straight to your inbox. Just subscribe and we'll make sure to keep you informed and entertained with news from the KUAM News team, what to watch on NBC and CBS, and the latest promotions from KUAM Communications. Go to KUAM.com, click on the newsletter tab at the top of the homepage, register, and you're all set. Brought to you by Uno Go, Guam On Demand. Catch Sports Link on the Link every Friday for the latest sports news, game schedules, athlete profiles, and more. Sports Link airs every Friday on Breeze 93.9 FM and streaming online across our multimedia platforms. Sports Link is brought to you by Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape and Taco Bell. Live Mas. It's Feed Me Fridays on the Link. Good eats, good company, and beyond good chow with Team KUAM checking out Guam's most tantalizing, tempting menu items. Every Friday on the Link, listen on Breeze 93.9 FM or stream online. Brought to you by Devondale, real milk from free grazing cows.
Uno Mixed. We're mixing it up on the last Thursday of every month with a look at lifestyle, entertainment, food, and so much more on the stations, networks, and digital platforms of KUAM Communications. Uno Mixed is presented to you by Docomo Pacific, Better Together, and Pepsi. That's what I like.
Let us know what's up on our KOM News WhatsApp tip line at 671-727-0094. Share information about what's happening in your town, on Guam or the CNMI, and what you want us to know. Reach us on WhatsApp at 671-727-0094.
KUAM Communications continues our perpetuation of our Chamorro culture, language, and heritage with features available to our listening and viewing audience, including streaming of Chamorro music 24 hours per day on Isla Digital Radio on KUAM.com and the KUAM News app. Chamorro News Update, weekdays on the Link and the KUAM News YouTube channel. Conversations about life in our Chamorro language podcast, Cuentos Tapaco, with Kin Conception. Seasonal specials, shows, and other features highlighting the beauty of our language, culture, and history. It's a new era of our continued commitment to our Chamorro heritage. Isla, watch, listen, stream. Viva Isla! The KUAM Podcast Network is back and on demand, featuring a great variety of podcasts from our island and region, including culture, lifestyle, awareness, crime, politics, commentary, comedy, and entertainment. Available on most streaming platforms. The KUAM Podcast Network. Subscribe and listen now.
I walk into you, it's gonna take
811, good morning. Welcome back to The Link. My name's Chris. Been coming up, Public Auditor BJ Cruz and Tomas Maglonia with regional news live from SIPAD and the CNMI. Good morning on you guys, 812. Let's go ahead and get into our 8 o'clock newscast, which is proudly brought to you by Pacific Points. With the very latest from the KUAM news team, Hannah Davanzo with her 8 o'clock newscast. Again, brought to you by Pacific Points. Good morning.
This news update is brought to you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Hafide, good morning, Guam. Here are your updates on the link. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has released its elder fraud report for 2021. According to the report, they've seen an alarming increase in criminals targeting senior citizens, and loss amounts are even more staggering. As for here in Guam, last year there were 16 complaints of elder abuse with a total loss of almost 1.6 million. As for the Northern Mariana Islands, there were 4 complaints with a total loss of 3,000. Overall, the crimes targeting seniors across the country detail multiple types of schemes, including romance scams, investment fraud, government impersonation, and tech support fraud. And the Maritime Law Enforcement Forum kicked off Wednesday at the Dusitani Resort. Daniel Perez has the details on the 3-day event involving the United States and Philippine Coast Guard agencies.
It's a combined effort from 6 different Coast Guard agencies to keep the seas in Southeast Asia and the Pacific safe. Deputy Commander of the U.S. Coast Guard Rear Admiral Peter Gautier and Commander of the Philippine Coast Guard Rear Admiral Ronnie Gil Gavan detailed the importance of the Southeast Asia Maritime Law Enforcement Initiative.
What we do under this Southeast Asia Maritime Law Enforcement Initiative is we gather together to reinforce our relationships, conduct information sharing, see where we can better build capacity and capability to tackle the common threats that we have collectively with law enforcement on the high seas.
We believe that information exchange is the key to success in dealing with those issues. And information sharing needs trust and confidence. And there's still no substitute to building relationship by being with one another in things like this. So this is very important for us because we have to build relationships.
Rear Admiral Gautier stated it's imperative to get together now more than ever, since they increasingly find themselves threatened by transnational criminal organizations that smuggle drugs and people across international lines, as well as other illegal activities happening in Southeast Asia and the Pacific.
More and more we find illegal fishing to be a problem that's common within Southeast Asia and the United States as well. And so it's important for us to compare notes, exchange information, see where we can improve our relationships to better get after these problems.
Rear Admiral Gavan added how communication is key to building trust with other Coast Guard agencies and how it will help strengthen the Southeast Asia Maritime Law Enforcement Initiative.
As long as we keep on talking with each other, great things can happen. And SIMLI provides us that avenue for us to build that relationship because we are talking and dealing and tackling the things together as one people.
Other members attending the Maritime Law Enforcement Forum include senior leaders and policymakers from Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam to collaborate and expand maritime law enforcement partnerships. Daniel Perez reporting for KUAM News.
Over in the NMI, the involvement of a House prosecutor and the existence of an impeachment record for the Senate trial of Governor Ralph Torres hangs in the balance. Regional correspondent Tomas Maglonia today asked Torres whether he would support the House's proposal for a 5-member prosecutorial team.
They have a rules. The House have their own rules. The Senate have their own rules. So we're here to follow the rules.
Governor Ralph Torres says he's sticking to the rules when it comes to the playbook outlining his Senate impeachment trial. We pressed the governor if he'd support the Senate, allowing the House to have 5 prosecutors instead of 1 as outlined in the rules.
There's a rules that the Senate has, and so I think they have their own rules and we follow those rules.
But that airtight rule book continues to be challenged by the House and the Court of Public Opinion. While House leadership has said they would consider taking the Senate to court as a last resort, a war of words continues to dictate the procedural gridlock, and even the House clerk, Linda Muña, has had enough. Wednesday morning, Muña penned a response to the Senate clerk requesting a 30-day extension until May 6 and not tonight to resubmit the full impeachment record with the deficiencies the Senate found corrected. If the Senate does not accommodate that request, the trial could move forward without an impeachment record or House prosecutor. Muña says the Senate took 11 days to put together their objections. She wrote, "By contrast, I have only 48 hours to correct these deficiencies, which would entail rearranging thousands of documents from dozens of disparate sources. This is an unreasonable and unfair burden for me to complete within such a short time span." Muña also challenged some of the Senate's assertions of deficiencies, saying that the organization of the current record is accurate and reflects the nature of how they were received. She writes, "It would defeat the purpose to have a record which is mechanically organized chronologically, but which separates records which relate to one another and which were received together." Muña also requested being able to work with the Senate staff to parse through the errors on paper. She says complying with the rule by tonight's deadline is simply not feasible. KOAM has reached out to the Senate President for comment. Tomas Manglotnya for KOAM News on Saipan.
Some substantial relief for soaring gas prices is being proposed. Speaker Therese Terlahi is seeking public input on legislation that could mean a savings of as much as 23 cents a gallon at the pump. Nestor Lecanto reports.
A hearing is set for Thursday afternoon on a pair of bills by Speaker Terlahi to roll back the most recent 4-cent increase in the liquid fuels tax and another measure to eliminate the tax and related surcharges altogether. In an interview on The Link, she said, "We can't control U.S. shipping laws, we can't control global fuel prices, but..."
This is the one thing that Guam controls. That's the tax that we have put on gas. And so I'm hoping I can get the support of our entire community that we all together agree.
The fuels tax is meant to fund a variety of local needs, such as village road improvements. Terlahi says the government collects enough in other taxes to still cover that.
The impact of this bill, $10 million overall to the government of Guam, right? And we can clearly cover that with our $62 million excess revenues. And I would prioritize this, or covering, village street repairs with that $62 million over, above step recruitments, over additional hiring, over many, many other things that we are currently, that they're putting on the table. They want to hand out all the money. And I say, why don't we give it back to those people who are paying it to us?
She says the fuel companies she's talked to have reassured her that if the tax is lifted, they will pass the savings on to consumers.
Please, anyone out there who wants to talk about decreasing their fuel prices by 23 cents per gallon, please come to this hearing.
For KOAM News, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Similar state fuel tax rollbacks are being implemented or proposed across the country. Once again, the hearing on Terlahi's bill is set for today at 1:30 p.m. And just because a person is intoxicated does not mean they cannot be a victim of rape. And a bill by Senator Mary Torres would close a loophole in Guam's statute to stop defendants from using that as a defense. The Guam rape law is patterned after Minnesota, where the state Supreme Court ruled that the language did not clearly prohibit such a defense. The Minnesota legislature has since amended that statute, which local attorney and former prosecutor Christine Tenorio says Guam also needs to do.
Blame game as far as she should have known better because, she should have known not, or he should have not known not to take X many drinks or consume X many drinks in one night. So what this does, though, is that it closes that loophole. And as long as the prosecutors get the opportunity to argue to a jury that, this person was too intoxicated to be able to consent, then those victims can still be, treated as such.
Testimony during the hearing noted that Guam has the second highest per capita incident of rape in the nation, and bill sponsor Senator Mary Torres said this will help serve as a strong deterrent.
Importantly, we will send this clear message to our community that alcohol use is never an invitation to rape, and those who prey on the severely intoxicated will be punished.
Under current law, victims are not considered mentally incapacitated if they voluntarily consume an intoxicating substance prior to being sexually assaulted. And with COVID cases down, the Guam International Airport is easing up on restrictions it placed on the height of the pandemic. Daniel Perez reports.
What we've identified in flights that are coming in, especially from the U.S., that they're coming in full. The planes are coming in full. So yes, we're starting to see the increase in passenger movements coming into Guam and also transiting from Guam.
Executive Manager of the Guam International Airport Authority, John Kinata, confirmed the uptick in people coming to visit Guam. Due to that, as well as the low COVID numbers on island, the airport has lifted a lot of its COVID restrictions.
As of today, upon arrival, you no longer have the public health processing lines that you go through when you arrive on Guam. They're no longer there. So it's not required that these passengers do go through that. And one of the reasons is that the federal regulations that are continuing is that before a passenger comes in from any of the foreign countries, that they be vaccinated and also have a negative COVID test before they get onto the aircraft, or else they won't be allowed to get on the aircraft.
Kinata added what other restrictions have been lifted starting today.
In the arrival section, you can now come back like before, go in and meet your passengers that are arriving right when they come out the customs inspection area. So they're allowed to go in, and so there's no restriction of movements to go in there.
The executive manager stated that by Friday, all doors going in and out of the departure side will be open, so there's no longer a single point of entry. Social distancing will also be suspended by Friday, and that includes the queuing lines. Mask wearing is still required while inside the airport and on the aircraft. Thermal screening upon entry will also be suspended. However, thermal screening upon arrival will remain. Daniel Perez reporting for KUAM News.
Star Marianas Air will provide inter-island air travel to Department of Defense personnel traveling between Guam and the NMI. The agreement between Star Marianas and the DoD covers the next 5 years under a blanket purchase agreement after a rigorous review and on-site evaluation last October by DoD officials. We are very excited to have been approved by the DoD and to work with them to support their transportation requirements within the Northern Marianas and Guam, said Jose Cruz, Star Marianas Air General Manager. SMA is the only U.S. airline based in the CNMI and began its operations in 2009. And those are your headlines for this morning. We'll see you tonight on The Link.
This news update is brought to you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Let's get into some more news brought to you by First Hawaiian Bank and presented by Uncle Ken Conception right here on The Link. Good morning.
Buenos na updates to get sunod bitunod sa morning ni KUAM News. Presenta ni Familian Mito gi First Hawaiian Bank. Maresta si Justin James Tyron, 35 anos na edad, ay na-receive report na 2 na menor de edad sa mga atakan bus ni. Unong ibiktima no 13 anos na edad, asangan na nataki Guyas Tyron, maski 40 biyahe, tatutong Gudistia na 9 pa 10 anos sa edad niya. Segundo na biktima sa 12 anos sa, tasangani polisiya na nataki Guyas Tyron, Distia na 9 pa 11 anos sa edad niya. Unong na testigo sangani polisiya na Tiahonggi, na una famputi famagoon si Tyron. Afafadan si Tyron 4 na kwentang primer grado na criminal sexual conduct at 4 kwenta na segundo grado na sexual criminal conduct. Gima si FBI sa release sa niya report elder fraud para 2021 na sakan. Siguro na niya report maliisan na din na natisan kriminat siya no may emong imanamko. Damas na man gwini sa guahan gimapos na sakan 16 na complaint man ma-file no anog sinakin slapi no kana 1.26 milyon pesos. Ginote Marianas, 4 na complaint man ma-file, pero masakit pa todo 3,000 pesos. Pero todo tradisi siya kontra manamko entre todo Estados Unidos sa sinakin pino pretenden por investment inagwaiza kado hende gobernamento zang kado por forma ajuda gisini poten teknikat. Otro mas asunto Star Marianas na kompanya sa para managwa sa Mission Baconairi para personal de Department of Defense naman babuita entre Guahan dan ni Norte Marianas. Nakomprendi ng Star Marianas dan ni DOD sa kinubri 5 anos na tempo. Ngunit na posible na di blanket purchase agreement ay masen reconosi sa ma-approve serbisyo ni official di DOD. Si Jose Cruz, si manager ni Star Marianas, asangan naman sen magosiya naman ma-approve serbisyo niya ni DOD sa reglamento entre Guahan sa ni Norte Marianas. Star Marianas agwiza di kiki na business Baconairi ni gagigisiya na may sa totoo ni business niya gi 2009 sakan. YouTube na sunto gifinut sa moro para bago ng webes gin ni KUAM News ang kontrata ni balan kantay 6 milyon pesos sa ma-award Hensel Phelps Construction Company gin Hawaii ni NAVMAC Pacific para tsoto gini gizagwahan. Matare kompanya para mahar sa warehouse ki Cam Blas, warehouse para sagan karetan militar siya. Itseto ni para matsogi gifinagwadzok sa debut mo na funazang gihulyo na mes 2024 na sakan. Para Guam News Network, Guausikin Conception. Yasuto gifinut sa moro sa presenta sa ninafatto ni Familia Mizo gi First Hawaiian Bank.
Say hello to the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app. Want a better look at your spending? With Money Map, you can automatically create budgets and manage where your money is going. Know when you have a green light or when it's time to slow down. Maybe cook more meals at home this week. Set your goals, track your progress, and find your way to exactly where you want to be. With Money Map from the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app. It all starts with yes.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Join Nestor Lacanto for virtual in-depth discussions with the movers and shakers in our community every Wednesday on In Full Zoom. Presented by IT&D and Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
New Spicy Lovers Pizza from Pizza Hut. Hurts so good. With its spicy marinara and sliced red chilies. It's like a roundhouse kick to the taste buds. How's it looking? Don't be bashful with the fiery flakes now. I want it to be real spicy.
I haven't started yet.
Okay, I'm ready. The new Spicy Lovers Pizza. Get it while it's hot. You want respect? Red chilies get you respect. No one outpieces the Hut.
Marianas Irrigation and Landscape Superstore. Stop on by and visit our showroom today. We offer everyday low prices on all major outdoor power equipment like bush cutters, chainsaw, power washer, generators, and more. Need service, repair, maintenance? Well, check out Guam's best superstore only at Marianas Irrigation and Landscape, located in Barragata along Army Drive between Submarina and Besta Market. Call 735-7446 for more information. Now shipping to surrounding islands. Marianas Irrigation and Landscape Superstore.
Get the job done the right way by getting the right stuff at East West Rental Center. With years of experience helping builders, we definitely got what you need. Call 646-1463 or visit us in Upper Tumon. Open Monday to Saturday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Sundays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lacanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by KFC and the Medical City, where patients are partners.
Join KUAM Communications as we reflect and pray for the Lenten season with the Lisodson Ordinario para Caresma. We humbly ask you to join us in prayer in Samoro or English at 7 p.m. nightly from Ash Wednesday, March 2nd to Good Friday, April 15th on Isla Samoro Streaming Radio. Find it on demand on the KUAM Podcast Network and across all of our social media platforms. Lisodson Ordinario para Caresma, only on KUAM. Rejoice, for he has risen.
Stay connected through The Link each morning on Breeze 93.9 FM.
Keep on watching me, cause I'ma make you one day. I know I'ma figure this out, but for now I don't wanna go out, I just wanna stay home. I don't really care about all the things they do. It's nothing but the truth.
Claude.
I don't wanna go
I don't want to go out. I don't want to go out. Hey guys, be good. In 2 weeks, the outdoor mask mandate will be lifted, barring any, I don't know, they didn't say what would throw that off, would derail it. But I would probably say a surge would probably derail it. And so that's what happened, is the CDC has made a determination that Guam is low risk. Not no risk, low risk area. And so remember, if you guys recall, the governor had said it was in her executive order 2022-09, the 9th executive order of this young year. That's about 2 a month. Yes, the April, January, February, March, April. Yeah, about. Anyway, so in her executive order, she said that when we get the CDC low risk designation, and then when our St. Augustine certifies it, we are now a certified low-risk area. Let's get that on some T-shirts. You know what I mean? I went to a certified low-risk area, and all I got was this T-shirt, or something like that, right? I feel like we should. Can we put this in the group chat for like tourism? Hey, everybody, we're low risk now. So now that it's been certified, we're supposed to go 2 weeks, and then April 19th, 1 minute after midnight on April 19th, the outdoor mask mandate will be lifted. I know a lot of us have been going without the masks in outdoor settings. I know they're mandated for, like business type gatherings or fairs or events. But for the most part, I mean, if you go around and people are jogging, exercising, walking on the beach, nobody's really wearing a mask. But there is actually an outdoor mask mandate in place that they're going to be lifting in a couple weeks if anything goes right. It's 8:34. Tomas Manglotnia joins us now live from the island of Saipan. Tomas, good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Chris. Yes, more major developments in the impeachment trial of Governor Ralph Torres. Every day seems to bring another day of news in terms of what the future and fate of the executive branch will be after the legislative branch continues its function in this impeachment process. So I wanted to play the story from yesterday. We got a chance to approach the Sinai governor after an event and ask him his thoughts on the quarrel between the House and Senate with regards to the prosecutorial team that the Senate wants instead of the one prosecutor that the House wants, rather, instead of the one prosecutor that the Senate says the rules require. So here's that story and what Governor Torres responded to that question with.
They have a rules. They have a rules. The House have their own rules. The Senate have their own rules. So we're here to follow the rules.
Governor Ralph Torres says he's sticking to the rules when it comes to the playbook outlining his Senate impeachment trial. We pressed the governor if he'd support the Senate, allowing the House to have 5 prosecutors instead of 1 as outlined in the rules.
There's a rules that the Senate has, and so I think they have their own rules and we follow those rules.
But that airtight rulebook continues to be challenged by the House and the Court of Public Opinion. While House leadership has said they would consider taking the Senate to court as a last resort, a war of words continues to dictate the procedural gridlock, and even the House clerk, Linda Muña, has had enough. Wednesday morning, Muña penned a response to the Senate clerk requesting a 30-day extension until May 6 and not tonight to resubmit the full impeachment record with the deficiencies the Senate found corrected. If the Senate does not accommodate that request, the trial could move forward without an impeachment record or House prosecutor. Muña says the Senate took 11 days to put together their objections. She wrote, "By contrast, I have only 48 hours to correct these deficiencies, which would entail rearranging thousands of documents from dozens of disparate sources. This is an unreasonable and unfair burden for me to complete within such a short time span." Muña also challenged some of the Senate's assertions of deficiencies, saying that the organization of the current record is accurate and reflects the nature of how they were received. She writes, "It would defeat the purpose to have a record which is mechanically organized chronologically, but which separates records which relate to one another and which were received together." Muña also requested being able to work with the Senate staff to parse through the errors on paper. She says complying with the rule by tonight's deadline is simply not feasible. KOAM has reached out to the Senate President for comment. Tomas Manglona.
So, Chris, we got late developments last night. The CNMI Senate President did, in fact, respond to the House. He said in his letter that he must decline the request for an extension of time to file the corrections of the non-compliant impeachment record. He says there's no provision in the Senate rules of impeachment which permit the extension of this deadline. He concludes his letter saying the Senate will proceed with the impeachment process as required by these rules, and any request made to me as a presiding officer, Hofschneider writes, should cite the appropriate provision in the rules which would permit the action requested. And so, Chris, we've been reporting on what this means, and if this is by the book according to the rules, essentially the senator is saying that there will be no House prosecutor or impeachment record moving forward, given that the extension wasn't granted. We do have an interview with Senator Hofschneider today and hope to clarify the record and see exactly what the next steps are, and if when even that pre-hearing motion to dismiss the articles of impeachment will be held, and also really what will the impeachment trial look like and when will it be scheduled if it doesn't have an impeachment record, if there's no House prosecutor, and if only the governor's team is present, what will that trial look like, or will it be more of a different format? And late yesterday, of course, the House didn't miss a beat in terms of responding to the Senate President, saying that given the limited timetable, the House says we made a good faith effort to address the concerns raised by the Senate clerk. However, we require a reasonable extension of time in order to address all of the issues raised. Despite our best efforts, the House says, the House cannot reorganize over 8,000 pages in 48 hours. The monumental task is simply not feasible. Moreover, what purpose would this total overhaul serve, and for whose benefit? The House says it is our collective hope that the Senate will take up the opportunity to review the impeachment record closely and methodically. If they did so, we are confident the Senate would reach the conclusion that there is sufficient evidence to convict Governor Torres. We also continue to hope for a fair trial before the Senate with the team of House prosecutors appointed by the Speaker. We are ready to fully and vigorously present our case as soon as the Senate is ready to hear it. And so it seems as though the House is still holding out hope. The House still has hope that it will fully participate in the Senate impeachment trial of Governor Ralph Torres. Chris, today we're going to get a better picture tonight on primetime whether or not that will really happen. So stay tuned for that.
Tomas, I know. Thank you, Tomas. Can you tell us a little bit about? Is there a DoD presser tomorrow? You were saying?
Yes, we're hearing that there is a Department of Defense and CNMI governor's press conference tomorrow morning to address that breaking news that we reported on last week with regards to their scaled back training on Tinian and Pagan. They're right now, according to the Commonwealth Joint Military Training Plan proposal that was amended, they eliminated the use of Pagan for training, and then also they're scaling back their high caliber fire training Tinian. So that was all through our press release, and hopefully tomorrow we'll get a chance to get more clarity on that as well. So you can look forward to that tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Tomas.
All right, thanks, Chris.
All right, there you go. Tomas Maglotnia, our regional correspondent, covering all things that are regional here, and all three of the islands in the CNMI, Saipan, Tinian, and Luta. It's 8:41. Quick break. Public Auditor BJ Cruz is next, right here on the link. Good morning.
We're taking care of business with GTA on KUAM Digital. Tips and advice for your business to get more productive, efficient, and streamlined with pro tips, tools, and other services. We're navigating through the best practices in tech, operations, and beyond every month with the help of our friends at GTA on KUAM Digital. GTA, we start with you.
Islands are still rising. We move ahead in this third year of the Decade of Action to our destination of a sustainable, equitable, and prosperous future. The breeze builds. Meet us on the journey, and let's harness wind in our sails to sustainable 2030.
We're living in a new world with new ways of communicating, connecting, and moving through life.
Every day seems to be marked with change, and with all these changes, you need trusted people you can rely on for advice and insights about the things that really matter.
Let Gina and I walk you through everything you need to know about real estate, from buying to selling to renting, and all the details in between.
Join us with Jason Solis every week on House to Home.
House to Home every Tuesday on KUAM News Extra, presented by Remax Diamond Realty.
Watch Mariana's artists, activists, and visionaries and their quest to protect, preserve, and promote our Chamorro culture on the Culture Club, a weekly feature on KUAM News digital platforms and the KUAM News Weekend Edition. Brought to you by Tropical Ice.
Start off your middays with the menu on KUAM News Hotspot, your preview to the big news items. Broadcast on KUAM TV 8 weekdays at noon, with live stream on our social media platforms, plus an encore at 5 p.m. on KUAM TV 11.
The Menu, brought to you by King's Restaurant, always open, always local, and Ruby Tuesday Guam, home of the Fresh Garden Bar.
Subscribe to our KUAM News Digest, our weekly email newsletter with all kinds of information straight to your inbox. Just subscribe and we'll make sure to keep you informed and entertained with news from the KUAM News team, what to watch on NBC and CBS, and the latest promotions from KUAM Communications. Go to KUAM.com, click on the newsletter tab at the top of the homepage, register, and you're all set. Brought to you by Uno Go, Guam On Demand. It's Feed Me Fridays on the link. Good eats, good company, and beyond good chow with Team KUAM checking out Guam's most tantalizing, tempting menu items. Every Friday on the link, listen on Breeze 93.9 FM or stream online. Brought to you by Devondale, real milk from free grazing cows. Catch Sports Link on the link every Friday for the latest sports news, game schedules, athlete profiles, and more. Sports Link airs every Friday on Breeze 93.9 FM and streaming online across our multimedia platforms. Sports Link is brought to you by Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape and Taco Bell. Live Mas.
Fansano da ni KUAM Communications mendes tata jujuti tata reflecte tempo kresma no lisado no denario. Kitodi ni meddi hu faisen namzo maila tata fan lisado ifeno samoro pat feno English kada poengi gala shetti gi senisa dia dos gi marsu estai bet ni santu dia kinsi gi abit. Ekungo gi isla Chamorro streaming radio pasno egga pat hungmog masyafan na ora gizon mami podcast na network na nititodo edras median sosial gi KUAM. Fan magov sa kahulo ugwi.
Una bestia coronan flores para ichechomu asentorui magagumu meke ojia desmoy amigamu nagwa Sadinan sikea sunguli pinadesi hafedu by togui Zangin and now disposition I look in any Tahun dia sampai untukmu Pinitihu Jauh tongan tati Igi mamu Ichong kunat po Hanay man flores
Good morning. 8:45, Thursday, April 7th. Public Auditor BJ Cruz joined us on the link here. Good morning, BJ.
Good morning.
Let's just go ahead and get right into it. I kind of wanted to start because you had a bunch of audits that had come out recently. Maybe fill in the gaps for me, but I know there was one on the Ancestral Lands Commission, and then I believe another one on Guam Waterworks.
Yeah, we just issued Guam Waterworks this morning. We've issued now 12 audits, and we may issue 2 more later on today. And I told all the agencies that they have until next Friday to get everything out. The date actually that they were supposed to finish their audits was supposed to be February 28th. Unfortunately, there was a glitch in the completion of the OPEB. And so the actuary didn't get it out until late February. And so I sent it to the, what do you call it, Deloitte and EY, and their actuaries reviewed it. And so that was the reason why I sort of gave them a little leeway. But by February 28th, everything was done. So I thought that everybody would be finished during the month of March. And then it came towards the end of March, and I'm going, what's happening? And then discovered that everybody's just been sort of just lagging along. And so I told them April 15th, everything's published, with or without you, otherwise that's a drop dead date. Because the speaker has been trying to change the law to make March 31st the date that the Guam-wide audit comes out.
I see. So that's what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, because I know I said let's dive right into it, but I didn't know he was going to that part of the pool. So basically what he's saying is the government-wide audit is coming out on when, BJ, April 15th?
No, all the agencies will. The government-wide audit needs to have all the agencies' audits in so they can use the numbers from all of those to put together the government-wide financial statement.
Got it.
And so the government-wide audit probably won't come out, and I'm hoping within 6 weeks, which would make it June 1st. And I told them that that's still not acceptable to me. And so I thought you called me yesterday because you heard that I sent out a nasty gram to everybody.
I hear you send a lot of those. Yeah, BJ, this is a problem. We actually had you on. I want to say, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I feel like this is the same song and dance every year where you come on and you're saying, hey, agencies, get the stuff in so that we could do this audit.
Yeah, and part of the problem is that a number of the government agencies are dealing with a smaller workforce in their accounting department because they're all being hired away to the autonomous agencies. I lost another employee last month. He got almost a 50% increase to go to one of the autonomous agencies. And he wasn't even one of my senior people. I mean, he was one of my middle people, but he wasn't one of the seniors. And a 50% increase to go to the autonomous agencies was really, very, very attractive and lucrative. So he felt bad, but he had to go. I'm hoping that what the legislature has been saying, one of them will hopefully introduce legislation to have it so that the HR department of the government of Guam and the autonomous agencies get together and they sit down and they truthfully talk about how much they're paying the accounting divisions people, the accountants and the auditors in their departments, and hopefully get some kind of equity between them, so that there's no pirating anymore. That people would be more willing to stay with an agency they've been with for a while rather than run off for a 50% increase someplace else.
So it kind of sounds like you're advocating for a government of Guam-wide 50% pay increase for accounting and HR personnel?
Not 50%, but I want equity is what I'm trying to reach for.
So, BJ, how does that affect your operations when you're losing? Because this isn't the first person you've lost, and I know it's not going to be the last, but I feel like we
lost 2 within the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And so what happens is with these audits, the reason why I keep trying to tell the agencies, you got to get these out as early as possible, is because though the audits themselves are done by an external auditing agency like EY and Deloitte, when it comes back into the office still has to review it. When we do the highlights have to be quality assured reviewed, which means every sentence that goes into the highlight has to have something, evidence that behind it. It can't just be my spouting off on the radio. Everything has to have be linked back, and you can cross-link it to something else that shows that you got that information from a credible source, either the law or the books or something. But it's got to be footnoted, everything.
Yeah, it's got to be indisputable. I get it.
And so it takes up all the time. And so all my performance audits are on hold because nothing can happen during it was supposed to be the month of January and February was supposed to be, devoted to try to get these out. Now it's January, February, March, and it's now getting into April. And that's really affecting the release of my performance audits. Those got to get out too. And so, but with only 3 of my senior people still around and 1 middle management person, all 4 of them have to do the QARs of the 28 audits that are being done. And then we're having even new people do the cold read because everybody's just trying to get everything out in these next 2 weeks. So it's crazy at the office right now.
Wow.
I really feel bad for them, but I really have to commend them for putting in the hours that are necessary to get all these audits together and make sure that the highlights properly state what's going on in those agencies. And I really do hope that the stakeholders read it. We send it to the governor, we send it to the legislature, and we even publish it on our website. And I hope that people in the general public and the administration and the legislature take the time to read the audits. The highlights are just a summary. The MD&A, the management discussion and analysis, is a good explanation of what they're doing. But I have found that reading the notes in the back are really, really enlightening. It goes and it really explains what's going on. It might be in the highlights in one or two sentences, but in the notes, it's explained in 2, 3, 4 paragraphs, sometimes pages of explanation.
Yeah, I mean,
but
some of these audits are pretty juicy.
Read it.
BJ, we had a comment here. With the delay that you're experiencing, how do you feel it will affect the upcoming budget discussions at the legislature?
Well, they won't have notice. They won't have the information that they need to decide what's going on. That's why I'm pushing it, the Department of Administration. I know that the last government agency audit is going to come out on the 15th, but I still need you at Department of Administration to use the next 6 weeks to get the GovGuam audit out by June the 1st at the very latest, because the legislature needs that when they start deliberation.
Yeah.
And as the former chairman of budget, I understand the need for it. And so that's why I've been trying to push the date back. I've been trying to get everything finished, all the agencies done by February, and the GovGuam audit out by March, so that when the legislature starts to write the budget in April and May, it would have the benefit of having seen that.
Right.
And so yesterday I sent out a nasty gram to all the agencies saying, this is just, unacceptable. I'm dismayed that we're so late in the issuance of the audits. I want a Gantt chart for next year that starts on May the 1st, explaining to me what you're going to start doing starting May the 1st throughout the summer to get everything ready, so that as soon as October 1st comes, you can start providing to the external auditor everything already. Everything's ready to go. But I want them to start the Gantt chart starting May the 1st, so that they use the entire summer to get everything ready, because I want everything out next February 28th, so that we can push the GovGuam audit out by March the 31st. And hopefully we can do that. One of the things that I'm hoping is going to help is 3 of the large autonomous agencies got a new financial management information system. And I understand the Department of Administration is in the midst of procuring its FMIS, its financial management system. And if we get that, hopefully it won't be as difficult in putting together next year's audit.
BJ, you said that the delays that you're experiencing will temper the budget discussions coming up at the legislature because they won't have all the information that they need, right? But it kind of sounds like it'd just be the same thing that happened last year, where you had the administration not disclosing to the senators how much ARP was here, how much was there. And I just wanted to get, because you mentioned that you are the former Budget and Appropriations chair, but would you have been able to make a budget with the limited information before you?
Well, we devised the budget, we put it together. We had our own way of projecting what the revenue was going to be as best we could. Remember, everybody was criticizing the fact that I was very conservative in my projection, and then we always made sure that the budgets took care of the warm bodies that are currently in the departments, and just limit the expenditures for everything else. And so, yeah, we were able to do it, but it was really difficult, and not knowing where all this additional money is coming from. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, everybody's at loss trying to figure out, the hotels are supposedly down, but it seems that there's extra money coming in. People are supposed to be unemployed, but withholding taxes and corporate taxes have gone up. And I don't envy the budget chair at this point, because it's like, what is happening? I mean, we had an SDS meeting the other day, and it was like, how is that possible that supposedly there's people that are unemployed or underemployed, but we're still getting more money in withholding and in corporate taxes? How is, and it's puzzling the economists, and it's puzzling those of us trying to make the decisions in government that don't have an economics background of how that's possible.
I wanted to, before we let you go, this Guam Ancestral Lands Commission audit, there was something in here that caught my attention because we just had the speaker on, and this is there's been a discussion with Eagles Field and the proposed site for the governor's $1 billion healthcare complex. And there are original landowners involved in the equation, and I know that they had a meeting with the governor, and from what they discussed with me, it appears that, well, they were told they're not getting the land back. And so that kind of begged the question about compensation. But we had the speaker on yesterday, and she said that no landowner has ever been compensated from the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission Land Bank. And reading this audit, the highlights of your Guam Ancestral Lands Commission audit, I think we found our why. As land bank rules and regulations challenges prevent landowners' compensation. As trustees and on behalf of qualified ancestral landowners, the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission shall establish rules and regulations for the administration, management, and development of all identified lands with resulting income to provide just compensation for dispossessed ancestral landowners. Since its creation, Ancestral Lands has faced many challenges regarding the establishment of the land bank rules and regulations. Without the land bank rules and regulations, Guam Ancestral Lands has yet to start the just compensation of families who will not benefit from returned ancestral property. This has been a reoccurring challenge as far back as the fiscal year 2012 financial audit. A draft of the land bank rules and regs was submitted to the Office of the Attorney General in April 2017. The AG subsequently rejected the draft and opined that until such time when the Guam legislature amends the current statute with specific language for definitions and payments, the Ancestral Lands Commission will be unable to submit legally acceptable rules and regs for compensation to dispossessed ancestral landowners. Proposed legislation to amend Chapter 80, Title 21 has been in progress since January 2021. The Ancestral Lands Commission and Executive Director will continue dialogue with the administration and Guam legislature to finalize land bank rules and regs. I think I missed that one because, we've been talking about this compensation. I think we've reached out to John Birch a few times to kind of figure out exactly what is the process with the land bank, and I don't think it was ever mentioned that they didn't even have rules and regs in place. So what, from your understanding, BJ, what is the timeline on getting these things implemented? And what's it going to take?
As we put in our highlights, it's going to take passage of legislation out of the legislature, clarifying definitions and provisions. And they're aware of it, as the highlights pointed out.
Yeah.
Well, the legislature knew about it since an audit in 2012. They started to look at it. A set of rules was submitted in 2017, but it was opined to be not compliant with laws, and so they've tried. I'm hoping that they've written now the provisions that would satisfy the Attorney General's office.
I guess based on this audit, were you able to determine if there is enough money after we get rules and regs stood up to pay out any of these original landowners? And then how does that work?
It's not going to pay out everybody, but the way that the Ancestral Lands Commission was written and created, it was supposed to provide some assistance to families whose land could not and would not be returned. All right, it would pay for those whose land was underneath the runway at the airport because that would never be returned to them. Whereas the landowners who got land along the cliffside and along the Route 8, they got their land back, so they shouldn't get any money from the land bank. But the families whose land was underneath the airport, you know, like Benny Crawford was insisting, his families was under the airport and would never come back. They should get some money. And the land bank has in excess of 10 million right now. They can make some payments, they can do some things, but I really don't think that's going to be enough for all the land that has not been returned. But it has some money, but not. I really don't think enough. And the rules are going to have to state how much is going to be provided under. And I think one of the questions is going to have to be is the fair market value of today, or the fair market value when it was taken. How is that set?
Wow.
That's going to be the biggest stickler in rules.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the proposed legislation or the proposed rules, so I can't comment.
So $10 million, in your estimation, I mean, just given the facts that you have, you know, before you, maybe from this audit, would we even begin to get to the Eagles Field landowners if we were to pay out this 10 mil to all the original landowners who, for whatever set of circumstances, can't get their land back? All the ones that have come before Eagles Field? No, right?
Yeah, but it would have to, yeah. The issue then would be compensation of how much, and would it be the fair market value of the property when it was taken in 1950, or would it be the fair market value today? Because that there's quite a difference in that.
Yeah, I'll say.
And I wouldn't, you know. They're going to have to figure that out. And so that's why I think some of the landowners would rather have a land exchange than have cash, because they're afraid that it's going to be 1950s value as opposed to today.
Or that it might take forever because we don't have rules and regs, and that's got to go through the whole debate and process, right? Well, thanks, BJ.
No problem.
Have a good one.
I'm glad you're reading the highlights, at least, of the audits that are coming out, and hopefully people will start covering them. But a lot of effort goes into it, and I'm hoping people will read them.
Yeah,
it's on our website, it's on our Facebook, it's everywhere.
And thank you for the explainer. If you guys, we put up all our interviews on the link. We put them up on YouTube. And so what the public auditor did, he's actually done this a few times when he's come on, is he provided kind of like an explainer. You know, when you watch these little videos and they're like, here's how you go on the KUAM podcast network or whatever. So what the auditor did earlier in this interview was he talked about how to read these audits, where to find all the juicy stuff, basically, which is you look at the highlights and then you go to the notes in the back, which kind of expand on the highlights. Right, BJ?
Right.
All right, so my reading and comprehension is still up there. Got it.
And you listen, actually.
I'm trying. Thank you, BJ.
Thank you.
That's there you go. Public Auditor BJ Cruz, 909. Docomo Pacific, they are here to help with the ACP. Affordable Connectivity Program helps you connect to things that matter most with $30 off select internet plans. Head over to Docomo Pacific's Tamuning HQ to see if you qualify. Qualifying households can get a free router with an additional $45 off for a limited time only. Visit Docomo Pacific and ask about ACP today. Docomo Pacific, better together. Cover Me is also proudly brought to you by Burger King. Just in time for Lent. The BK Big Fish Sandwich. Sir, we've been putting a lot of attention on the Impossible Whopper, but I just want to also, the Big Fish Sandwich, it is from the bun to the crispy breaded fish fillet to the tartar sauce. I don't know what they're putting in that Burger King tartar sauce, but give me some more of it. Okay, so you check them out, the BK Big Fish Sandwich or the Impossible Whopper, which is 100% Whopper, 0% beef at Burger King. BK, your way. Let's do a little Sabu, the man who gifted Kelly Clarkson and Snoop Dogg a Sinahi on national television. He deserves an Ancient Order of the, what is that award we give to the Chamorros? I think that one's for the white folk. The Ancient Order of the Chamorro, I think, is for the. There's some award that we give it to him as Snoop Dogg going around with a Sinahi. Yeah, well, Kelly Clarkson too, right? That's awesome. So we're gonna do a performance from Sabu. This is I like this track. We actually played it a few days ago. It's a cover of The Giver, live from Olympia, Washington State, and he's joined with a friend here. It's Sabu, your Cover Me, brought to you by Burger King and Docomo Pacific. Guys, Guahu si Chris, esta gupa, betnes! Yeah, it's going to be Friday. Until then, esta, the cover of the... Adios! Adios!
The buffalo roam, and I'll give to you all that I hold, all that I fear, all that I face, and all of those times I thought home was a place when I could just tilt my head down, kick my feet on the ground.